Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cashfly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Sunday, January 27th, 2013. This is episode 948. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Ring Central. We do everything in the cloud. That's why I love my cloud-based phone system from Ring Central. No startup cost, and Ring Central is $20 per month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial, and when you buy one desk phone, you'll get a second phone free up to 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use the promo code TWIT. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers and the internet and cell phones and the Super Bowl and all. No, well, I just snuck that in. And all that jazz. Probably won't talk much about the Super Bowl. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, you'd like to talk high tech, I'd love to do it with you. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you could Skype us. We don't mind that. Got a lot of listeners on the internet. People call from all over the world all the time. It's fun. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's see. January, almost February 2013. Must be time for another iPad rumor. Yes, it is. New report, 5th generation iPad's going to look a lot more like the Mini, which is a huge success for Apple. This is rumor. You understand? This is nobody knows. Although the rumor mill's been more accurate of late, and I think that's because they're making so many of these devices now, and they're making them in China where they have less control over the employees. So the leaks are a little bit more free and somewhat more accurate, I think. It's the same size screen as the iPad, the current iPad, which we will, for reference, call the iPad 4. The iPad 5 will have a 9.7-inch screen, but very little bezel. That's the border around the screen will be teensy-weensy, just enough space to accommodate the camera and the home button, kind of like the iPad Mini, making it smaller, but also it's noticeably thinner, according to this report. This is from iLounge.com. Same chamfered edges and curves that the iPad Mini has, and the iPhone 5 as well. So much smaller and thinner than the current design. They're probably also changing the interior, buying a different screen technology, an IGZO panel that LG makes. Now, this one I would take with a grain of salt. Jeremy Horowitz, writing in iLounge, says that originally Apple wanted to push this out in March. I can't believe that would be the case. They don't want to go to a 6-month cycle on these things, do they? Now they're saying October, perhaps due to component yields. They couldn't probably get enough of those IGZO screens made in time. And the 5S, roughly the same time frame, will be pretty much the same as the iPhone 5. And I think this is true, because I've heard it from a number of sources now, and it makes sense strategically. A low-cost iPhone, particularly designed for China. In fact, I think if you look, people wondered, what happened to Apple's stock price this week? It just took a tumble. And the funny thing is, it took a tumble on the news that Apple had a record quarter and made billions of dollars. And it is now down from a high around $700 to $439, which is almost exactly where it was a year ago. So it's not panic time by any means. But I think what's going on is that people are saying a couple of things. Maybe Apple has reached the end of the line at all the stuff that that it got from Steve Jobs, who's now no longer with us, is gone, is on the market, and I think there's a kind of a definite sense that maybe the people aren't as confident in his successor, Tim Cook, and Johnny Ive coming up with anything as good. That's part of it. But I think what's really going on, and this low-cost iPhone has something to do with it, is Apple isn't making as much profit as it used to. Their margins are down. Oh, my, only 38%. Oh, horrors. In the PC industry, of course, you know, it's in the single digits in some cases. So Apple's still making a lot of money, but less. And this new cheaper iPhone designed for markets where they can't afford an expensive iPhone 5 will probably also bring those margins down. And I think that's what the stock market's reacting to, is just lower profit margin. Still pretty good compared to the PC industry. One thing we did see, though, from the Apple quarterly report this week is that the sales of Macintoshes were down considerably. And that dovetails nicely with the nice, maybe not the right word, but it makes sense compared to the news we're getting on the PC side. The Windows sales are down considerably. And now it's starting to look like it is, if in fact people aren't buying computers like they used to. That there's less interest. They're not selling Macs and they're not selling Windows machines. They're down quite a bit. What's going on? Well, a couple of things. You could have said, you know, and some people did, that Windows 8 was a disappointment, so nobody bought new PCs because they didn't like Windows 8. But Macs are down too. So you have to think it's more about, do people really want computers anymore? On the one hand, the computer they bought a couple of years ago is just as good as it ever was. Those 2 gigahertz machines with 4 gigs of RAM and fast giant hard drives. You don't need a new computer. That's one issue. The other is lots of people are buying these tablets and even smartphones and finding that's the sweet spot. That's where they're going to spend their money. Paige in our chat room says, I'm going to get a tablet to replace my desktop. And I think Paige is not alone. You know, maybe we are indeed, as Steve Jobs said, in the post-PC era. Wow, that would be a big change. A huge change. So that's kind of what we're kind of reading. If you're reading the tea leaves, that's what's going on. That's why the stock price is going down. That's why people are a little bit worried about Apple. I don't think there's anything to worry about Apple. I think Apple's going to do just fine, thank you. They may end up being more of, as they were in the desktop computer, they may be with the tablets and the phones, more of a boutique manufacturer as Samsung and the other Android phones start to really take off and start to beat Apple everywhere. But Apple doesn't mind. Apple's used to that position. They make more money on each phone. They make a lot more money on each phone. And they're selling a lot. They're selling tens of millions of them every quarter. They're nothing to be unhappy about. So it's not really, there's really nothing to say about Apple's stock price tumbling. Because that's what the stock market's reaction is. It doesn't. How does it affect us as users? It's probably not meaningful information. So don't worry about it. Facebook. I'll say that. Facebook. Okay. Moving on. Did you see the Steve Jobs, the clip from the new Steve Jobs movie? Boy, that was terrible. The mythology now begins, the mythologizing of Steve Jobs. People who knew him, like Steve Wozniak, saw this clip of this movie with Ashton Kutcher playing Steve Jobs, saying, that's not how it was. It wasn't like that at all. Step back, Steve. We're going to do the same to you. It's the mythologizing. It's what happens. I was thinking a little bit about this. You know, Eric Schmidt a little while ago said the media always doesn't cover technology right. They're always trying to make something of, more of a story of it than it is. He says much more nuanced than that. People want to say Apple and Google in a fight to the death. He says not like that. We work together. We work against each other. It's more nuanced and more complicated. And I agree. I understand that. But Eric, that's not our job in the media. Our job, we're storytellers. People want stories. They want a beginning, a middle, and an end. They want a good guy. They want a bad guy. They want good triumphing over evil. As long as, I mean, evil might win a little bit, but then good in the long run. They want that. They want that story arc. So that's really what even we who say, oh, we're fact-based journalists, that's really what we're doing. We're trying to tell us. Now, with any luck, the story also gives you insight and maybe some information about how you should proceed, whether you should buy a tablet or a PC but really it's all about the story. It's all about it. So story time begins now. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, if you'd like to talk high tech, I'd like to talk about it with you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The mythologizing of Jobs. It began before he died, didn't it? But now we start seeing these movies. I mean, it's kind of funny because really, there are a lot of people around still who knew him and remember him and were saying, that's not how it was. That's not anything like it. I was thinking a little bit about this after the reading about the CNET story, which is getting worse and worse. Now it turns out CBS has told CNET, oh, and by the way, you can't review Aereo either because we're suing them too. And I just, Mike Arrington, of all people, from TechCrunch said, you guys have seen it, you should quit. You shouldn't put up with that. You shouldn't let CBS tell you what you can and cannot cover. And I kind of agree with him. That's one of the reasons I'm really glad to be an independent tech journalist. But, wow. Mark in Boston says in our chat room, and I agree, Mark, the job of a Hollywood biopic is not to get it right, but to make a good story. That's exactly what it's saying. Oh, look at this. My Contigo filled with hot coffee. Medium coffee?
Well, I put cream in it to cool it down a
Oh.
lot.
A nice warm coffee. It's good. But it'll stay that way. And I can't spill it, which is really a blessing. You're looking at me as if, boy, that's a lucky thing. You screwed that down tight, right? Okay. Well, the important thing in telling a story, and you got to make a story out of it, is not to misrepresent the facts. But you can still create a storyline out of it. That's kind of that's kind of a no, didn't wash it because did you wash it? Because I didn't. I used it right out of the box, and people say, "What do you stop wash it for?" I said, "No, because the Chinese workers who assemble this, they wear white gloves, and it's very clean, and I think it's probably cleaner than it'll ever be again." We were thinking, this is from Contigo and Glenn Rubinson. I'm joking, obviously, but I haven't. I'm okay so far. Of course, lead poisoning takes a long time to materialize, doesn't it? This is from. We're thinking that maybe it's probably too soon to do it for our a Twit device, but we were thinking maybe getting these Contigos and putting the Twit logo on it. Yeah, Costco has them. It does have a kind of metallic taste. Did you, Fredcast, you see the movie? Or you must be at Sundance. Melamine is a natural disinfectant. That's right. Well, we're lucky here because we have a world-class hematologist and oncologist right here in the studio with me. So if I should keel over, as long as it's cancer or blood disease, I'm good, right? And a baby. Anyway, it's an honor to have Charles Main, Dr. Charles Main here, Chief of the Division of the Pediatric Hematology Oncology Center at Beaumont Hospital, Royal Oak, Michigan. And Doctor of the Year, according to the Children's Miracle Network. That's got. Have you done this your whole career? Must be sad though, because the little baby. I guess I don't know.
It's gotten better every year.
You're helping them. Yeah.
The survival rate was about 2%.
Oh wow. From 2% survival rate to 90%. So it isn't sad. That's very exciting. Wow, that's great. That's really neat. What a great story. Wow. And are there some particular diseases you run up against a lot, or leukemia? Yeah. Oh my God. And you have to deal with those parents that are just distraught. It's got to be difficult. Now I don't see Kyle on the. I am connected. but I don't see anything
Line
on.
1 is Mark in Westchester, Leo.
Thank you, Gina.
Sure.
Why? I mean, I know I'm online.
You ready, Leo?
Yeah.
All right, you're on.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We're talking high tech with you. Give me a ring. Website is techguylabs.com. If you have, you hear something, you don't have to write it down. James DeRuvo's writing it all down as fast as he can, fast as his little hands can type. And then, actually not that little. And then Josh Windish, who does have little tiny hands, will then polish it up and put video and audio next to it. And you can always go back after the fact and search that database. Always free at techguylabs.com. Let's go to Mark is it Winchester? Mark Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Actually just in Westchester.
Westchester. You're in New York. Good to talk to you, Mark.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Leo. Isn't it it's kind of interesting, how we're in the middle of this shift in computing with all these new convergence-type devices. I think the Windows Surface Pro is coming out next month.
That's right, February 9th. It is a very interesting time, but you know what always is? That's one of the reasons that I, as a journalist, as a young journalist, said, I think I'm going to cover technology. You never get bored. It's always something. But this is probably the biggest shift I've seen since the internet emerged, and that changed everything.
Right. We had mainframes that went to mini computers that went to the personal computers, and personal can lapse it in from PCs, desktops to laptops. And now, who knows where we're headed? Well,
I have to say, I'm excited by the idea that you have the internet with you wherever you go. Mobile is, to me, very exciting because now it means so many things. It means you can communicate all the time, but it also means the facts are at your fingertips all the time. I mean, it's something as trivial as I go to the grocery store and I'm thinking, what am I going to make? I can look up a recipe on my phone and then buy the ingredients. Or I'm at a movie theater and I say, what was she in before? And I can look that up instantly on my phone. Again, then everybody yells at me for turning on my phone, but that's another matter. So I love the idea of the internet always available. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to look back a year or two from now and see where we are and what the predominant devices that people are buying, whether it be a tablet, whether it be some sort of convergence device, or what have you. But the reason I was calling, through all these shifts, I've, actually every time I wanted to back up my machine, I went out and I bought whatever the largest hard drive was at the time.
Right.
Some years it was, a 20 gig drive.
Now it's 3 terabytes? Yeah.
200 gigabyte drive,
yeah.
Followed by a 2 terabyte drive. And I never actually used any software. I just kind of dragged my documents and things like that I wanted to keep. And anytime I upgraded to a new, larger drive, I would just back up the contents of the old drive to the new, and now I got a little problem, right? I've got copies and duplicates of data on top of data, duplicate files, and I just wanted to get your thoughts, Leo. Is there any kind of tool that could help me weed through all those backups and maybe eliminate all of the excess duplicates of, similar copies?
Yeah, there are, but I'm not sure I would recommend doing that. As hard drive space is cheaper and cheaper, the risk of deleting duplicates and accidentally deleting an original or only copy is so great. I would probably say that is not a high priority. Just buy another hard drive as they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Seagate has said they've got it up to a terabit. That's a cajillion bits per square inch. What is it? Let's see. A gigabit is a billion. A terabit is a trillion bits per square inch, which means they think, and I would never have thought this in a million years, that they will be able to make a 60 terabyte hard drive in the next couple of years.
Wow.
So, in other words, don't worry about it. I love the idea that I have duplicates on there because every duplicate is an extra backup. So, but there of course, is the issue of how do you find it, and then there's also the issue of having it sit next to your computer in the long run runs a risk because you could fire or flood or somebody steals everything. Those backups could go. So make sure that some of those backups are off-site. It could be as simple as taking that 60 terabyte drive to work with you. What I did for a long time is I had 2 network-attached storage devices, and I would rotate them. So I would have one back up my system for a month, and I had a duplicate, and I would bring that to the office and bring the duplicate back. it would update, and I would have 2 copies, one on-site and one off-site. Things like that are important to keep in mind. Much more important than worrying about duplicates. I wouldn't worry about
So
that.
in terms of searching, would you recommend any tool then to search?
Yeah,
all
somebody
that?
asked me
You'll
this
have to
last
find
week.
something?
Yeah, there's a great tool if you want to pay for a tool that it's not expensive and it will search everywhere. Now, it won't search offline storage. You know, once you disconnect that hard drive and bring it to work, you can't search it. And this is a search tool. It's called X1 at x1.com. So that's
Okay, great. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
That might help me weave through some of this stuff.
It will, but only the online stuff. And then so when, for instance, photographers have a lot of offline. So there's kind of 3 kinds of storage. There's online, which means you can see it right now on your computer. The hard drive's on your desktop. There's nearline, which means it's in the room, but it's not connected, so I could go get it. And then there's off-site, offline, which is somewhere else, and it's going to take you longer to get. And it's good to have a little bit of each. The more variety, diversity you have in your data storage, the better. So photographers need some way to keep track, and others need some way to keep track of what this offline storage is. And what that means is you're going to have software that will index the stuff while it's still online. Say, oh yeah, that's drive 6B. Then you can add an annotation. It's now in the closet. And take it offline, put it in the closet, and you can still search that database. So you could say, well, where's that picture of the wedding from 2004, and it'll say, well, that was 6B, and it's in the closet. And that is I imagine, the kind of thing you're looking for. The reason I mention photographers is because most tools for photographers, Lightroom, Aperture, will do that kind of thing. As you move this stuff offline, you can indicate offline, and you can indicate where it is. But I would love a recommendation, and I know there's some smart people in the chat room who perhaps have to deal with this. It's commonly done in business. Might have some suggestions for a way to index offline storage. Wouldn't that would kind of, then you can really have peace of mind. You could say, I know where every file I own is, whether I can see it now or not. If I need to, I can go to the closet or go to the storage locker or go to the cloud and find that file. It's kind of an offline indexing system. I'll tell you what, I don't know of anything off the top of my head. I should, but keep listening, Mark. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat room, and I think we'll figure it out. It's funny because if you'd asked me, and I've been doing this show since 1992, so I've seen a few things come and go. But if you'd asked me around the year 2000, I think I'm probably on record somewhere saying, oh, by the year 2010, we won't be using hard drives. We'll be using solid-state holographic storage. You'll have a little cube in your pocket that'll hold all your documents. And I keep thinking that that's going to happen. But what's amazing and what's very impressive is that the hard drive industry has continual innovation, and they continue to stay ahead. So, in fact, we're talking 60 terabyte drive, or 60 petabytes. I mean, it's just, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. What is it? Huh? It's his little tiny hands. Just teasing. Oh, thank you. All I need is, because I don't know I don't know from private email. Let's see. At 11:30? Good. Call him up. I had no idea. So it's a report from NAMM. Let's see. Yes, we should talk about the Tech Guy Labs ideas. You sent.
I talked to Lisa about him too. So.
You sent it to me?
Yeah, I sent it to you just a little bit ago.
Oh, just a little bit ago. There's the problem. A little bit ago.
Subject line is hot. This week's promo.
I'll go look on the interweb. So what was the name of that? Let me just go back here. No, it turns out we are not going to have more Twit mugs. Something going on. We're not happy with the VVVP, program designed to catalog and handle digital images. Well, that's for pictures, yes. But I want something for all files. VVVP app. Our show today brought to you by my good friends at Ring Central. Can I talk about Ring Central? It'll cheer me up. This is our phone system. Have I shown you my nice Polycom phone? Just like a big, regular office phone, but it's a little different because there's no PBX in the basement. This connects. I just plug it into the wall, and it connects to Ring Central, which is the #1 cloud-based phone system. By the way, they're getting better and better. They just added, and I love this, text messaging to the Ring Central app. They're going to slowly roll it out to existing customers, but new customers will all get it. This is a good time to become a Ring Central customer. So if you have a small office business, medium-sized business, even big business, Ring Central is the way to do your phones. I had to figure out how to do the phones here at our new studios, about a year ago when we moved in here. And our IT guy said, try Ring Central. And I am so glad we did. It's $20, roughly $20 a month per user, including long distance and all of the great features, fax and so forth. You put the Ring Central app on your smartphone, and now you're making the phone call on your smartphone. Even if you're home, it shows up as the office number. We pay for it. People call back. They're calling your smartphone and your office phone. You can have them both ring. It's just great. I am a big Ring Central fan. I want you to try it free for 30 days. Call 800. This is our special TWIT number, 800-543-9980. Or visit ringcentral.com. Use the promo code TWIT so we get credit. You get 30 days free. And this is a nice feature. You want to do this before this expires. When you buy one desk phone, you'll get the second one free, up to a total of 20 phones. That's pretty good. We've had great results here with Ring Central. In fact, I would challenge, I don't think most new employees know that we're using Ring Central. I don't think that it just works. I would challenge them to, do you know what we're using? Ringcentral.com, baby. Call 800-543-9980 to try it out today. And that's a great deal where you get the 2-for-1 deal on the phones. Ringcentral.com, promo code TWIT. We got the Polycom conference thing in the conference room. And then we have on their desks, I thought that they would prefer this, and I think they do. They're just the little chargers, and they're cordless phones, and so they can wander around. $20 per user per month, includes all long distance, includes incoming faxes, includes all the features, voicemails in your email, all that stuff. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Leo.
Thank you. I'm glad, you probably sent me an email, and I just didn't read it, but I'm glad.
That's all right. No problem.
Virtual volumes view. That's good. Good suggestion. Oh, yeah, I'm checking my Gmail. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, unfortunately, my the Twit mugs that you guys sent me so nicely arrived completely smashed.
Well, we'll send you new ones. I hope you told somebody that.
I did, yeah.
Okay. That's not good. Did
they were
anybody else
relatively
get smashed mugs. Did we send them?
Apparently so. Apparently so. They were not wrapped very securely.
We're not going to go with those guys anymore. That's really annoying. I can't see the private video. It's private. Hey, Josh. This video's private. No, but I can't. Who? It's private to whom? I have to be Mr. What is that account? Twit? Let me see. Switch account. Switch account. I don't have any other accounts. Probably my account originally. They all were. Kathy works well and is free. Okay. K-A-T-H-Y, cataloging tool. Oh, man. Index offline storage with Archive 7 by Max Sparky.
This is Twit, all about Android.
QM Launcher is the most
That's
crazy,
bizarre. It's a
unique
Rubik's
3D
Cube.
launcher I've ever seen. In that
Cut.
it is a floating
Cut.
3D cube
Cut.
that you put
here,
your
Josh.
apps on different.
You got to tighten it. So 3D launcher.
3D cube scene. In that it is a floating. Ever seen. In that it is a floating 3D cube that you put your apps on different pieces of the cube.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We didn't have our friend Scott Wilkinson yesterday, our home theater guru, because he was at NAMM.
I was.
What is NAMM?
NAMM is the convention for the National Association of Music Merchants.
Oh.
And this was my previous life. Before I covered consumer electronics, I covered pro audio and recording studios and that sort of thing. And so NAMM was my big show,
Right.
which is in Anaheim every year. At
It's
the
supposed
Anaheim
to be
Convention
really
Center.
fun, right? Like
It is.
a lot of music and parties and
Yep. Yamaha celebrated its 125th anniversary with a mega concert on Friday night. I didn't actually go, but I was able to tune in because they streamed it live thanks to the NewTek TriCaster.
that's right. Our friends at NewTek. That's what we use too. Yeah.
That's right.
yeah.
And Elton John, Shaka
Wow.
Khan,
Wow.
Shania Twain, I think a bunch of megastars were playing. And I watched some of the stream, and it was pretty good.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It
how
was really
fun.
nice. So they did a great job.
That's somebody. I was talking to somebody who says that's the future of live performance in some respect. Of course, you always want to see live, but if you can't, as you couldn't, that's many clubs now are streaming their shows.
Yes.
And I know
Yes.
that John Slanina, my studio chief here, who's a big fan of a band called Humphreys McGee, that was his New Year's Eve. He had like 3 Humphreys McGee concerts, one every day after day after day. And it's like, it's not quite being there, but it's close
Not
and the
quite.
sound's good now. And
Yep.
so you
Yep,
really
the
get the
sound was very
experience.
good. Yeah, exactly right. So that was pretty amazing. Walking around the show floor, well, for one thing, it's very loud. Because, in one hall, for example, are all the drum companies. And everybody is just banging on these drums. And I unfortunately, I forgot my sound level meter. I wanted to go measure the sound in there. It was pretty darn loud.
I have one teenage boy with a drum set in the garage, and I can't hear anything in there, so I can only imagine what that must have sounded like.
What a giant convention hall
Full of drummers.
of drum sets with drummers just pounding away. It's amazing.
Wow. Oh, wow. They're
I
all
spent a
deaf,
lot-
so they don't care.
They don't care. What do they care?
They don't hear a thing.
I spent a lot of my time around the synthesizers, of course, and there's an amazing resurgence of analog synthesizers, and even going so far as to have these modular synthesizers with patch chords. You remember the cover of the album Switched on Bach?
Yeah, by
Walter
Wendy
Carlos.
Carlos Williams. Yeah.
Yes, it used to be. She used to be Walter Carlos, became Wendy Carlos, but that's another story. For Switched on Bach, he was Walter Carlos, and he had this. You saw this album cover with an analog synthesizer, a Moog synthesizer, with a ton of patch chords, looked like spaghetti, techno spaghetti. I saw at least 3 or 4 of those on the show floor with people, twiddling knobs and plugging things in and out. It was amazing. So
was that
bit
a
of
Moog synthesizer that he had? Was that?
It was. Yeah, that's exactly right. And Moog was there. Moog is still a viable company. They still make plenty of product.
Really?
Yep. Robert Moog died several years ago, unfortunately, but his company lives on. They introduced a new synthesizer called the Sub Fatty. P-H-A-T-T-Y, the Sub Fatty, which is, I think, primarily kind of like a bass synthesizer. It's a small little thing, like the Mini Moog. You remember the Mini Moog?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a self-contained little synthesizer. This one kind of looked like that. And there were a bunch of others on the show floor that had these physical knobs, in this world where now we've got synthesizers in the computer, basically software synthesizers.
Well, you could do everything that Wendy Carlos did nowadays on a personal, probably on an iPad. Almost certainly on an iPad.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. In those days, in the days of Switched on Bach, that synthesizer was monophonic. It could only play one note at a time.
Wow.
And so he or she had to basically overdub every single part, every single line of music to make the various Bach pieces that he did.
Here is a little bit of Switched on Bach, the Brandenburg Concerto.
Exactly.
And I remember having this album and thinking, wow, that's cool.
It is. I had it too.
Oh man, that's a memory.
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly.
We're going back to the future. That's not surprising because there does seem to be among audiophiles this kind of nostalgia for analog records.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough. Analog vinyl records and tube amplifiers.
How do you? Is that just nostalgia, or is it? Do they really sound better?
Well, in terms of vinyl records, there is going to be serious debate about that, and reasoned debate as well. I myself personally don't like the hassle of dealing with vinyl, of cleaning it up.
It might sound better, but it gets scratchy, it wears.
Exactly.
The first time you play it, maybe it does sound better. It is, in fact, analog. It has all the music, all the overtones.
That's right. That's right. The stylus wiggles around.
Yeah.
But I prefer the cleanliness of digital, and that's just a personal preference.
And convenience.
There are people out there.
It's nice to be able to download a song.
Yeah, that's true too. Although if it's too highly compressed, then that starts sounding a little funky.
What do you think of? And I bet you they were there of this Neil Young's move with this. I think it's called the Pono player. He wants to make a new MP3 player, not an iPod, that plays higher quality music. And then because he's Neil Young, he's got deals with every record label to release much higher quality music, higher than you get on CD.
That's right. Were
they there?
Not that I saw. I didn't see him. I was only there for one day. And NAMM, as compared to CES, NAMM is a cakewalk. There's nothing to it.
You could go for a day, yeah.
You could go for a day, and I went for a day, but I actually was even there for less than one full day, so I didn't see everything. And I didn't see Pono. I've heard about it. I haven't heard it. I haven't heard how much better the quality is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's very, very good.
Well, I think it's 24-bit, 192 kilohertz.
Right, which is
compared
the current
to
standard for super high quality.
Yeah, it's considerably more.
Much better than CD.
Than CD, which is 16-bit 48 kilohertz.
44.1.
44.1, that's right. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So,
so that's certainly an interesting thing that's going in the wrong or in a different direction.
It's still digital,
but it's much higher quality than even CD.
Yeah.
Now, there are those in the analog camp who will say it doesn't matter. Analog is better, period. But that's, I think, more of a preference thing. You can do measurements, but at the end of the day, it's what do you like to listen to? Also, analog costs more. You can download stuff into your phone or...
I love the idea of having a player. And the computer could play back, by the way, this 24-bit 192 kilohertz.
It could, absolutely.
But if you wanted it portable, you couldn't do it on an iPod. You'd have to get a special player. But I kind of like this idea. I certainly will line up to try it.
I will, too.
Yeah.
I will, too. One other interesting thing at the NAMM show was that they were celebrating the 30th anniversary of MIDI. Now, do you know what MIDI is?
Yeah, musical interface for digital
musical instrument digital interface.
Yeah.
And now, you snicker, but
everybody still uses it.
Everybody still uses it. 30 years later.
My son does a lot of digital composition, and he uses Logic, Apple's Logic. He has a MIDI keyboard because he wants to play the keyboard to get the music into the computer. So it's an interface. It used to be you had this special plug. Now it's just USB. Plugs right into the USB port.
Right. But do you know of another 30-year-old technology that is still being used professionally and by consumers all over the place today?
No, that's pretty amazing. 30 years.
It's pretty amazing. It really is. I was there near the beginning. I wasn't there right at the beginning, but I was on the board of the MIDI Manufacturers Association back in the 80s.
Scott Wilkinson, read up at hometheaterhifi.com and watch the Home Theater Geeks podcast Mondays, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on twit.tv. Who's coming up on Monday?
On Monday, I have an interesting fellow by the name of Johan Allen, who is a senior VP at Dolby. He's been there over 40 years, and he has overseen
There's a technology that's lasted more than 30 years.
Yep.
Although the original Dolby was stupid. It boosted the level of the high ends, right? 20 in recording in 20 dB, and then you dump it
and
20
then you
dB.
dump it back down, and that would lower the noise. I don't know.
It worked. If you didn't have
worked.
Dolby, you heard the hiss on the tape.
That's right.
It was
That's
a way
right.
of
Well, I'm going to be
eliminating
talking about. I'm going to be talking about Eoin about the early days of Dolby, all the way up through Dolby Atmos, which is their most recent
That sounds good.
technology
That'll be
today.
good.
So
That's
it's going to be
Monday.
very interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to be subbing for you next Saturday.
I forgot to mention that. I will mention it when I come back. Yeah.
You bet. That's going to be amazing fun.
Yeah. Thank you
And,
for doing that. And
my pleasure.
I will record. Let's see. You have 2 in-house commercials. I guess you won't. It won't even impact you. You won't have to even think about it. They'll just put it into the podcast after the fact. Because I
can do it if you want.
No,
I'm
I'll
happy
do
to.
them. No, they
They want your voice, of
Yeah.
course.
And so I'll put those. But you don't even have to think about them.
Okay.
I'm going to have. You could, if you want to, and it'll be up to you. Have Johnny Jett and Dick DiBartolo, who normally do call in on Saturdays, join you. They'll don't. You're going to be here, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be here.
You
in
are
the
flying
studio.
up. So John or whoever's in studio will dial them up and just let you know. But there's an in studio guest 11:30 and 12:30 on that. Oh, you're 11:30. I'm sorry, 12:30 and 1:30 on that show. 1:45
on Saturday.
On Saturday. But don't worry, they'll let you know. Otherwise, it's all calls, and I'll prime the pump right now so that people know to save their home theater questions.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it tremendously. I'm sorry I can't do both days.
No, that's fine. Actually, it's probably good. I was able to yesterday record the entire day.
Oh, fantastic. For Sunday?
For Sunday. So there'll be a brand new show, new to everybody except the people who watched yesterday.
I've got my wife and I are producing a very important concert the following weekend, and I've got dress rehearsals and stuff to do next weekend.
No, that's not only fine. I think that's really perfect. I think one day of you and then one day of me is perfect.
One day of me is plenty.
It would, well, and it would be hard for me to do 2 days in such short notice. So this will be perfect. Yeah,
perfect. I'm so.
And
glad
maybe I'll call in if I can. I'll call in from New Orleans.
Oh, dude, that would be so cool.
Yeah, give you a report.
Oh man.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah, my son uses. It's really interesting. A bunch of analog synthesizer simulators.
Right. In the computer, right?
Yeah, so Massive is one. And if you use Reason, it has all the patch chords and everything,
Yeah, on the screen.
On
and
the
you
screen,
kind of
and they swing.
Mouse to connect this to that. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. And so those are a bunch of analog synthesizers as well, yeah. He doesn't really care. I think there's a bit of nostalgia, but his generation, he's 18, he grew up with digital, and I don't think he has any nostalgia for analog versus digital.
Real analog devices, right? Which can be expensive. They always are. Good quality analog electronics.
I mean, I guess he if he uses a piano, he'll use a piano sample, an analog piano sample.
Yes, indeed.
I have to ask him. Do you notice the difference? Let me let you take some calls, questions from the chat room. Go ahead.
Sure, be happy to.
Actually.
Time to go.
It's over.
Oh well.
You used up all your time.
Tell you what, I'll hang out till 12.
Hang on for a second, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm going to ask a couple of more questions of Scott Wilkinson. We've still got him here, our home theater expert. Before I do, though, I do want to mention, because we had a caller who had, I thought, a great question. If I back up stuff and I put it on a hard drive and I disconnect the hard drive, if it's offline backup, how do I know what's on that hard drive? And the answer, of course, is to keep a catalog on your current computer that keeps track of everything that's not on the computer, so that you can say, where did I put that recording of Switched on Bach? And then you could go to the database and it would say, yes, that's in the drive 76, which is currently in the storage locker in Van Nuys. And then you can get in your car, you can drive to Van Nuys, you can get 76, you can bring it back. And that would be useful. Chat room, as always, to the rescue, came up with a number of different programs. There's an open source free one called VVVP and then VVV app. You probably want the VVVP is just for photos. VVV, the app, which is at www.app.sourceforge.net, is a free application that catalogs the contents of removable volumes like CDs, DVD discs, or, I presume, hard drives for offline searching. Folders and files can be arranged in a single virtual file system. Each folder of this virtual file system can contain files from many disks. So that's kind of nice. You can arrange your data in a logical way, click on the file, and it says, well, you know, connect this DVD or insert this DVD. Windows, Linux, and OS 10 on that one, and it's free. And then there's another one called Kathy. I love the name. Kathy is a fast portable disk cataloger. We'll put this in. And it's tiny. It's tiny. It's probably written in assembly language. Kind of a cool idea. So Kathy, disk organizer. And then finally, Archive 7. Then this one's for the Macintosh. It's in the App Store. So if you're using a Mac, Archive 7, it's $12.99 in the Apple App Store. Contents catalogs the contents of your removable media and devices like CDs, DVDs, flash memory drives, HDs, and so forth. This is Mac only. But this looks great. I'm going to have to try this. It's called Archive. It's by Yenko, Y-E-N-C-O, and it is in the Mac App Store. So there's a few solutions. Obviously, this is something. I'm going to download that one and put it on my Mac because I do have a lot of. I've lost more files than I have, unfortunately, and I know they're in the basement somewhere, but I don't know where. Scott Wilkinson is still with us. A couple of questions for you, Scott, before you head off. Scott is, of course, our home theater expert. He will be here, and I should say you're going to get plenty of airtime next week, Scott, because he's going to fill in for me on Saturday. I'm headed to New Orleans on Thursday. I guess there's some event there. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, something. I forget what it is.
In fact, if I can, I will. I'll call you if I can during the radio show. Great. Yeah, give you a kind of a scene setter.
You bet.
For Super Bowl, I don't know, XLVII. That's 49, 47. Yeah.
The 49ers in the 47th
yes.
Super Bowl.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But a number of people asked me, and I would love to ask you. You remember we talked quite a bit when it happened that Disney, George Lucas sold Lucasfilm and all of the properties of Lucasfilm, including all the Star Wars movies, to Disney.
To Disney.
To Disney. And at first, some people, I think, were shocked and horrified. And I think with a little thought, they've become more relieved. And now word comes from Disney that the next Star Wars movie, which is what, episode 7?
7, yep.
It's as crazy as Super Bowl numbering. Episode VII, it will be directed by the creator of Lost and Fringe and, interestingly, the Star Trek movie that was just done, the reboot, J.J. Abrams.
That's right.
What do you think?
May the Force live long and prosper.
I think it's great. I want to see a Christopher Nolan. I want to get these big hotshot, directors who've been reinventing the Marvel franchise, which Disney also owns, the Batman the DC franchise. Let them get their hands on Star Wars. Who knows what we're going to get? We get a dark Star Wars.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm actually very excited about it too because J.J. Abrams does such a great job on what he does typically. I mean, Lost was great. The Star Trek reboot was great. I can't wait for the second Star Trek movie from him.
Imagine Peter Jackson doing a Star Wars The Hobbit version. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be good.
It'll be all Yoda all the time. I mean, I just think there's the Star Wars universe is huge, and there's so many stories to tell besides the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader story that I could just imagine these directors just digging in there.
And I have to tell you, the first 3 Star Wars movies that were made, episodes 4, 5, and 6. I thought were generally pretty good, but the next 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3, I thought were generally pretty bad. Lucas focused on the technology and what could he do with the technology to make it look really cool, but the characters weren't interesting. I remember going to the one where Anakin and Padme were kind of falling in love, and people in the audience were laughing.
Yeah, and Jar Jar Binks. And
Jar Jar Binks,
Yeah.
it's like, give me a break.
yeah, people act as if George Lucas was a great steward of the Star Wars universe.
I don't think he was.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, I don't want to
Ooh.
say anything because I don't want to get any hate mail.
Yeah, well.
But it will be interesting.
Here comes J.J. Abrams, and who knows what he'll do with it. It
Yeah.
could be fabulous.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it.
Let me also ask you, you do the Home Theater Geeks podcast, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And coming up, the next one is tomorrow, 2 p.m.
Correct.
Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep.
That's a podcast only. That's not on the radio. But we do broadcast it live of audio and video on our Twit network at twit.tv. Who's your guest on Monday?
My guest on Monday is a fellow by the name of Yoan Allen, who is a senior VP at Dolby, and he's been there over 40 years. We were talking before the break about technologies that have lasted for 30, 40 years. Dolby has been in there for that long and longer with audio technologies, and he has been at the stewardship of the technical end of so many of those developments.
Wow, that should be fun.
That we're going to talk about everything from the original Dolby noise reduction, which was, I think, first developed for professional. I'm going to ask him about this. First developed for the professional applications for when you were recording in a studio and you wanted to lower the noise on your master tapes. But then it became, a version came out for cassettes, for consumer cassettes. And then there was Dolby Surround and Dolby Pro Logic and Dolby Digital. And now Dolby Atmos, which is this new theatrical format that The Hobbit was released in, Brave was released in, there were Life of Pi was released in it as well, where you have speakers all around and overhead. And so I'm going to talk about the entire scope of Dolby's technological involvement in sound, music, and movie soundtracks over the last 40 years. And he was right there in the thick of it. So that's going to be fascinating.
Tomorrow, Home Theater Geeks, twit.tv/HTG for previous episodes and for that episode when it appears. Thank you, Scott Wilkinson.
My pleasure.
We'll talk to you next week. He'll have the entire show at his disposal next Saturday, the Tech Guy program. All right, Scott. You just won't leave. Take it over.
I just won't leave. So here I am, going to give Leo a little break here. If anybody in the chat room has a question. A lot of people in the chat room are joking around about Thomas Dolby. I'd love to get him on the show, actually. He might be willing. He might be amenable to that. Let's see. The Pen Guy says, for my workout room, I have a Denon receiver and Surefire, probably Sunfire subwoofer. I need 2 new bookshelf speakers under $500 total. Suggestion, Pioneer. The Pioneer, if they're bookshelves, they would be the SP-BS22-LR. They're the ones designed by Andrew Jones for Pioneer, and gosh, I think they're like $200 for the pair, maybe 3, something on those ordered, well under $500 for the pair, and incredible deal for what you get there. So for that low a price, so that's an easy one. The Pen Guy. Let's see. The Gray Area. Hey, I'm seeing some new screen names this week since I'm on Sunday instead of Saturday. How is the Onkyo HT-S3500 compared to the more expensive units? Just wanted for PS3, Xbox, and home theater PC. You're talking about a home theater in a box, which the Onkyos are probably the best available products, but that isn't necessarily saying a whole lot. I love Onkyo receivers, and the receivers in the Onkyo home theater in a box are great. But the speakers tend to be kind of mediocre at best. So you're not going to get the greatest sound out of a home theater in a box from Onkyo or anyone else, for that matter, which is kind of why they're going by the wayside. We don't see them that much anymore in favor of sound bars. So I might suggest that you consider a sound bar instead, depending on you said you wanted a home theater PC, as well as gaming consoles. And yeah, for gaming, perhaps having real surround speakers might be a good idea. And for that, I would recommend Vizio, just introduced at CES, a soundbar system with the 3 front channels in the soundbar, a wireless subwoofer separate, and 2 surround speakers, actual physical surround speakers that you put up to actually get surround sound rather than simulated surround from the front soundbar, either by reflecting sound off the walls or doing some sort of weird phase thing. Having actual surround speakers is better. And I didn't hear those at CES, but Brent Butterworth, who was on my podcast last weekend, did and was very impressed. And he's an audio guy, so I would take his opinion seriously. So I would suggest looking at that when it becomes available. Not sure when that's going to be, probably in the spring. But and I don't remember the model number, unfortunately. I'll try and find that. But if you can get a sound bar with real surrounds, then I think that might be the best for gaming and home theater PC and other video things. Yeah, Fushigi, I didn't hear the Vizio soundbar, unfortunately. Terry H is asking about the Onkyo TX NR515, which is a receiver with JBL ES Studio speakers. It should be great. I love Onkyo receivers. The 515, I'd have to remember it's probably a 5.1, but Onkyo receivers in general are great. I've recommended the 616 to a number of people. 515, I don't know specifically. I do know the 616. So if you can step it up and spend a few extra bucks on that. The JBL ES Studio speakers are probably great. I really like JBL speakers, generally speaking. Terry K says, passed your Pioneer speaker recommendation to a friend who bought them and is now delighted with her new system. See, I wouldn't steer you wrong if I can possibly help it. Those things are amazing. For the money, you can't beat it. Let's see. Dagomar asks, how do I feel about refurbished TVs? This is a very good question. If it was refurbished by the factory, by Panasonic or by Sharp or Samsung or whoever, I'd say it's probably fine. If it was refurbished by a third-party retailer, I'd be a little more skeptical. Not that I've heard anything, and I haven't ever bought a refurbished TV myself, but I wouldn't necessarily... I don't know. I just, it's a feeling I have, and it's not based on anything objective. So take it with a grain of salt. But if it's refurbished by the factory, by the manufacturer itself, I probably wouldn't have too much problem with it. If it was refurbished by, the retailer, who knows whether it might be fine or it might not be. Do any sound bars, let's see, Web 5359, do any sound bars have the ability for wireless headphones? Well, anything that has a headphone output, you can use wireless headphones with, because what you do is when you buy a pair of wireless headphones, they will come with a transmitter, and the transmitter connects to a headphone output and then transmits wirelessly to the headphones. Now, whether or not there are any sound bars that have a wireless headphone transmitter built in, that's another question, and I don't know the answer to it. It's a good question, though. It's something I should look into, because if there are such things, that would be pretty cool. I think that'd be really cool. Of course, you might be limited to their headphone. It depends on what the wireless transmission standard is. If it's Bluetooth, then no problem. You can buy, there are any number of Bluetooth wireless headphones. But make sure that they do, chat room can help me on this. What is the Bluetooth protocol that you want? You want the high quality stereo Bluetooth protocol, AD2P. I forget exactly what it is. Leo would know for sure. I know it because I've heard him talk about it quite a bit. Luigi asks, any news on delivery media for 4K movies? Not yet. We certainly saw some prototypical ideas at CES. Korean Broadcasting System was showing 4K broadcasting, and Netflix was showing 4K streaming, which I didn't see, but I heard it looked pretty bad. And Sony announced 4K content delivery by download into a big giant hard drive in your system. So I tend to think that the download idea is probably the most viable. And so, because we don't have a 4K broadcast standard, the Korean Broadcast Company was just experimenting. So there's no standard there. there isn't really a standard for any of it yet, but I think downloading has the best chance of becoming a standard sooner than the others and having a high quality. And of course, that's what I'm interested in, is high quality. Becky asks, what concert am I producing? My wife and I are producing a concert of her music. She is a singer-songwriter and has been writing for 30 years. And so we are being featured on a concert at the Caltech Folk Music Society, on which she was the very first artist 30 years ago.
Leo Laporte, the
Looks like we're getting close to being out of time here. But anyway, so to celebrate the 30th anniversary of this series on which she was the first artist, we will be performing a set of her original music, and we've got a lot of prep to do for that. So that's going to be on Saturday, February 9th. So I hope those of you in LA can come.
All right, thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. Thanks
See you
so
later.
much.
Bye-bye. See you.
bet.
Have a great time next week.
Thanks. I sure will have a great time in New Orleans.
All right, thank you.
It's time for chili.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, and it's time to talk computers and cell phones and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. 888-827-5536. Back to the phones we go. Betty is in Vista, California. She's our next caller. Hi, Betty. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Hey, I'd like to ask you about this problem I'm having, and I want to see if there's any hope before I throw in the towel.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Yeah, well, I've tried, I've taken it in my computer and asked around, and I haven't been able to come up with a solution. But what's happened is I have Virtual XP installed on my Windows 7, and I can't get in. It won't integrate. Unable to integrate, I think, is what it used to say.
Okay, so this was, you bought the Windows 7 version, I guess it was Pro, that had XP built in? Or did you
install it after you get Windows Pro.
Yeah.
And I've been using it probably over a year, and then all of a sudden it just wouldn't integrate. And, of course, I did not back up my files because the virtual drive didn't back up.
Oh, dear. So you have data on there that you want to...
Otherwise, I'd just install XP again. But I'd like to know if you know of a way I could get back into XP, or maybe just get to the files and get the files out.
Yeah, my worry is that virtual... So the way virtualization works is that, as you know, it doesn't have its own hard drive. It creates a giant file on your hard drive that looks to the virtualization manager as a hard drive. That file, I'm worried about that file. That it may be corrupted, which would be the issue, right? Then Windows 7 would launch XP, and XP would try to open up that data file and then go.
What it's doing.
So the question is, can we rebuild this XP mode data file? And they're probably, I'm going to look and see if I can find a program to do this, because it's not unusual that these get corrupted. Then what would be nice is if there were some program you could run on that file and say, let's get the data out of it at least, right?
Mm-hmm. And if that isn't possible, then I had a couple other questions to that.
Well, if that's not possible, you could just delete that file and start Windows XP mode again.
But
right?
I'll lose all the files that I have in
You
there.
would, yeah. That's just why backup is so important. You have a backup of that VHD file, right?
Well,
no,
you know
you
what
don't.
I did is I made an image backup. Would that cover it?
Yeah.
But I didn't know what kind of a backup I should do.
Yeah, actually it would. The image would have, among other things, the virtual hard drive.
Yes, but won't it be the corrupted file again?
Well, it depends. Did you make the image backup before or after it stopped working?
After.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like backing up a drive after it dies. It's not going
to see the virtual.
Yeah.
I don't think. It didn't come up when I tried to restore it from Carbonite.
So you cannot get into virtual XP mode at all?
No.
No.
And none of the tools or whatever it offers there work. Nothing worked.
The first thing I would do before you start banging on this thing is make a copy of that VHD file.
Okay.
Do you know where it is?
No.
Yeah, neither do I, but it'll be a very large file. Ah, there we go. Jabba678 in the chat room has a link to how to repair Windows XP mode on Windows 7. And let me just go through it. There are some troubleshooting articles on Microsoft's TechNet. That's their support section. But we want to do, though, and you know, of course, what mostly the answer is we'll just uninstall it and reinstall it. I don't think you want to do that because you don't want to lose that data.
If I could just get the files, I wouldn't bother me.
You wouldn't worry.
But I don't know how to get the files.
Yeah, this is kind of an unusual version of the question, I don't have a backup, my hard drive crashed, now what do I do?
Okay.
That's basically, I believe what's happened is that virtual hard drive has crashed or is corrupted. Yeah. Let me just look real quickly at some of these error messages and see if any of them are helpful. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a link. We'll put it in the show notes to this article, Troubleshooting Windows Virtual PC. That's what you're using, by the way, for XP is Virtual PC. Mm-hmm. That's a Microsoft product.
Yeah, the one that you can download.
Yeah, it includes it. The gray area does mention that it is possible to mount that VHD file in Windows Explorer as a hard drive that you can search. So this would be another thing to do. So when you open Windows Explorer, you should see a item that says Virtual Machines, a library item that says Virtual Machines. Inside there, there should be a virtual hard drive, a VHD file. Look for it. You can always do a file search for VHD. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you right-click on it and go to the Send To command, there is a Mount VHD command. What this lets you do is mount the virtual hard drive inside Windows 7, not get into XP mode. And let's hope, if it's possible, to browse through it, then you can get your files out of it. Just copy them straight out of it.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Yeah.
I don't have that much in there. I just used it for my QuickBooks and a few other little things.
Oh, dear. I don't have much in it, just my financial records.
Well, it's not a big business, let's put it that way. It's just small, but I liked it, and I didn't need a new...
Yeah, well, we don't want to lose it.
Yeah, oh, no, I'd love to get it back.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the VHD file is just like any hard drive. It's got to be backed up. In fact, in some ways, it's more fragile.
Yeah?
So, because anything goes wrong with it, you know, it can't be read. So I'm going to put in the show notes a couple of links, one to this Microsoft Troubleshooter and another to this How To Geek article that shows you how to mount the VHD file, which is kind of hidden away in the App Data folder. App Data Local, Microsoft, Windows Virtual PC, Virtual Machines, et cetera, et cetera. But you can find it. See if you can mount it. If you can mount it, then you don't have to get in XP mode to read the files in there. You could.
Right. I wouldn't mind, taking it, taking it, uninstalling it, and putting it back on again.
Yeah. Yes. The data is what we're worried about. Getting that data back.
Yeah. And there's one other thing I wanted to ask you is there a way that I could disguise that I have Virtual XP on my computer so that I could just put another version on and I could just fix whatever I needed fixed just to keep going? It's so inconvenient. I have to go in the bedroom and use my other little old laptop that has XP to run my QuickBooks.
Yeah. You mean now because you're getting the error, you'd like to just
put another
XP on there? Yeah, you could do that. You can do that. I think there's a way to do that. The issue is the old VHD file. You can create a new VHD file and you can have a new XP, but you'll lose the data. So I want you to back up the data first.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. I understand it better now.
That's what I think. I mean, it's my guess, but I think that this is what's gone on is that data file got corrupted. So every time you try to start XP, it says, ooh, I can't boot this disk. It's just like a bad hard drive. But you can browse the disk without launching XP. Maybe that'll work. There is a program, thanks to the chat room again, from OfficeRecovery.com called Media Heal for virtual drives that sometimes can retrieve files from corrupt VHD files. So I'm going to put a link to that as well in this. All of this is at TechGuyLabs.com. TechGuyLabs.com. And again, just to underscore this, it doesn't matter what kind of drive you have. You got to back it up. If you've been backing up your entire Windows 7 drive, including the virtual drive, then you can go to an earlier backup, restore the VHD file, and be good to go again. You'll be up to date at least until the as far as the last backup went. It's another reason why you want to back up all the time. System Restore might also restore. It says Web6829 in the chat room. So we'll put all of this stuff in the notes because it's kind of complicated. TechGuyLabs.com. Every question, every answer, they're all there, video and audio after the fact, and your comments too, which really help, I think. So please go there, and if you've got an additional comment, put it in. No caller did not have a backup berserker. That was the whole point of that. Kyle Benham, my musical director, spinning the hits. If you want to get a playlist of all the songs he plays as we come back from commercials, you can get that on his Google Plus account, KYLE space BENHAM. We also put it on the show notes at the end of the show. TechGuyLabs.com. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. 888-827-5536. Back to the phones. We go for Robert in Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Leo. What's going on?
How you doing?
Dun, 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 dun. We got a week, right?
Is that your impression of the CBS Sports football theme?
Yeah, I know it's the wrong channel. I think it's NBC. You get the idea, right?
Yes, 1 week from today, the Super Bowl will be won by the 49ers.
Man, I am so excited for you. Well, I just had a couple quick questions for you about the new Office Suite and Windows 8.
Yes, yes. Emerging soon.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you look at the Staples flyer, the Office Depot flyer, whatever, they're marketing for that. Like you can buy the 365 or 2013.
Well, don't confuse the two. 365 is the online-only version.
Okay.
And there will be an Office 2013. You actually can download the evaluation version right now, and they'll start selling it soon. And it is confusing because they want you to subscribe to Office 2013. So it's I am not clear on what the distinction is between Office 365 and Office 2013, or which I would want, and blah blah blah. I think if you get a subscription Office 2013, you get Office 365 as well. So 365 would be a subset, I guess. There will be a $140 home and student version again, which includes just Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, not Outlook, the email program. The home and business edition adds Outlook. That's $220. And the professional package for $400 includes publisher and access. That's actually more than Microsoft charged last time.
Yeah, what I saw was like $80 gets you a year. Is that what you just said? $80 for a year subscription?
Yeah. Now, okay. So what you get, by the way, I should explain. If you pay the dollars for that Office 2013, is you can install it on multiple machines. Right. I think 3 machines. If you just want one machine, you can get Office 365. I get dizzy trying to decipher this. I really do. We have a Windows show with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, and they've explained this to me about 8 times, and I still don't get it. I'm not sure they get it.
No, I listen to that show religiously, and I'm like you.
Office 365 subscriptions include 5 Office 2013 installations and start at $100 a year. But those 5 installations have to be in one house, right? That's $100 a year. There's $150. I'm reading this off of a crib note, obviously. The $150 Office 365 Small Business Premium, which is for individuals, not businesses, despite the name. I can't. It's too complicated for me even to understand.
Gives you a headache, huh?
It gives me a headache, and I don't even know. Office 365 is web only.
Right.
But if you want the desktop edition, which you probably do, I mean, we still aren't living in a world where, despite what Google says, you can live online only. Paul Thurrott at the Super Site for Windows, Win Super Site, has an entire article on this Office 2013 pricing and packaging. And it's the most...
Right, well,
you got to have an infographic to figure it out.
That's insane. I guess I'll go check that out for more in-depth knowledge.
So this is what I would recommend for most people, is the one you were kind of talking about. It's $100 a year. Office 365 Home Premium. You get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. You do get Outlook. You do get Publisher. You do get Access. You get an additional 20 gigs of SkyDrive storage. And you get an hour of free Skype calls every month. That's $100 a year. But that means you can install those applications on up to 5 PCs. Even Macs, you don't get the new version. You get the old Mac Office version in your house. So that's a pretty good deal. $100 a year.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's for most people, I would say that's the way to go. And Microsoft is strongly encouraging this because they like the idea of having an annuity. They don't want to sell you one copy of Office and you use it for 10 years. They want $100 a year for each of those 10 years.
That's right. They want to suck you in there. The other thing is I got an email this weekend, and I don't know if you know anybody else who did, about Media Center, the add-in. I'm kind of sitting on my Windows 8 license key. I'm kind of seeing what's going to happen. So I bought a $40 upgrade key.
Yeah, you should, because it's going to go to $200 at the end of the month. So it's good you got that.
Yeah. I just went ahead. I know your prediction. I'm right with you. They're gonna push this out, but I went ahead and did
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. So Windows 8 is currently $40 for an upgrade, but everybody's upgrading. Who doesn't have a copy of Windows? So it's $40. And at the end of this month, Microsoft has said it'll go up to $200. And what I predicted yesterday, and I do believe this, is there's no way they're going to go right up to the deadline, midnight, and they'll say, oh, by the way, we're going to extend that another month.
Exactly. So I went ahead and also got a license for the add-in, for the Media Center add-in for free.
Yeah.
And I got an email this weekend saying if I don't use that license key by the end of the month, it becomes invalid or something like that. So I'm wondering
That's right.
if it's just for the Media Center or if that's also for Windows 8, or is that license all right for forever?
I believe it's just for Media Center. So the special pricing that expires for Windows 8 also will eliminate the free Media Center add-on, but it's only going to be $10 after that, right? That one I don't think they're going to backtrack on. Microsoft has said, and they know because they get the metrics for this, because every time you use it they can tell. They said nobody uses Media Center. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny market. And even of the 3 or 4% who have launched Media Center, almost all have only launched it once. That's why they stopped bundling it.
I use it a lot for watching live TV.
But exactly. The people who use it all the time and are furious.
Right, exactly. But that only applies that run out. If I don't use my Windows 8 license key, that is still going to be valid after January 31st, right? Like if I don't activate Windows 8 before January 31st, that key is still valid, right? I can activate it after.
But I don't know, but I think that email applies only to Windows Media Center.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. And this company is, people, poor Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, who cover this is their beat. They go crazy every week saying, we don't understand it. We can't figure it out. We don't understand it either. Microsoft has not been very clear at all. My best guess is that your Windows 8 key stays valid. It's just your Windows Media Center key that does not. But Microsoft is very unclear in their corporate communications. They just have to fix this. They just have to fix this. It's crazy. And yes, Paul Thurrott is the place to go. Supersite for Windows. WinSupersite.com.
And they do a great job, and so do you. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Robert. I'm sorry it's so confusing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So yeah, Paul is saying, buy the electronic upgrade now, install it later. So buy Windows 8, and you can install it anytime through October 26, 2015. I probably should do that, huh? But the truth is, the reason Microsoft doesn't really care if this is clear is that most people just buy a new computer. Windows users tend not to upgrade. You guys, you know, the geeks do. But Windows users, as a group, don't buy upgrade discs. They buy new computers. I am poo-poo on Windows 8. I hate Windows 8, but I have to use it, right? That's right. I think the email says the Media Center product key must be activated, but not. I don't know. Don't ask me. I can't figure it out. Microsoft does the worst job of corporate communications I've ever seen. I don't even think they know. You can't do that. Can you do that? Add a start button? W7ITC, I don't think so. Go to the admin sign on Windows 8 and a start button. Add a start button. You have Windows 7. Really? Well, that's cool. Oh, it's a fake start button. I see what you're saying. No, I know there's free add-ons. I thought you were saying you could do it in Windows. So I verified it. Paul Thurrott, the man who knows, says, this is the deal, to answer our last caller. Yes, you're right. You got an email from Microsoft that says if you don't activate that free Media Center key you got for Windows 8, because Windows 8 doesn't come with Media Center, you have to install it. If you don't activate that by the end of the month, it's off. You got to pay $10. So do activate it. But if you did go out and buy, in fact, Paul says this is a pro tip. If you think you ever are going to want Windows 8, get it now while it's $40. You don't have to activate it till October 26, 2015. I have no idea what the magic of that date is. Maybe it's Bill Gates' 60th birthday. I don't know. But for some reason, yes, that you can get a Windows 8 upgrade code now for $40 and at least through the end of the month for 4 more days. But you don't have to do anything with it. Just write it down, put it in a box until October 26, 2015, and then it expires. Smokey the Bear in our chat room says that's when the Windows 9 comes out. You're probably right. I have never seen a company so mismanage their communications in all my years covering technology. The only thing that comes even close is Osborne Computers. Remember that when Adam Osborne announced the Osborne 2 was going to be out in 6 months and everybody stopped buying the Osborne 1 and the company went bankrupt? Remember that? That's the... It's almost that bad. Crazy, you know, for this company is huge. This company is the most successful computer company of all time, and they can't figure out how to communicate this stuff clearly? Beyond me. Tim in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Thanks for hanging on, Tim. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, great talking with you. It's been a long-time fan.
Thank you.
I've been a long-time carrier of an LG feature phone, about 6 years, and I've made up my mind to go with a smartphone.
Yay.
And I know you love the Note 2, and I'm pretty convinced that's the right thing.
That's a big jump. You're going from a dumb phone to the smartest phone out there.
From a really old dumb phone to a really smart phone.
Okay, just understand that this is more of a computer than it is a phone.
Correct, right. With a really big screen, right?
Yeah, well, which is why I like it, because if you think of it as a computer, don't you want the biggest screen you can get?
Yeah, I do. And,
as long as it's still portable, and it is, it fits in my shirt pocket, no problem.
Mm-hmm. But you made a statement the other day that don't buy the white, buy the black.
Well, is
that a preference?
Yeah, it's just a matter of taste. They're exactly the same. It's just what the color of the bezel is.
Yeah.
I just like how but I have a white one. I bought the unlocked white one, and that's the one I still carry. I have it from Sprint. I got they don't. It's not black. It's like steel blue or something. And I just think it's prettier. That's all.
Well, the one thing I wasn't sure about, does it also have the dual antennas like the Galaxy S3, so that if you're on Verizon CDMA, you can voice talk and also browse with LTE?
Yes, that's something that Apple did not do for some reason. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it does in the Note. Then you can, I'll have to check just to make sure, but you pretty much can say the Note is the Galaxy S3. Everything that's in the Galaxy S3 with a bigger screen, more memory, faster processor.
Yeah. Do you have a great recommendation for a case? I carried that old LG on a stick it in the pouch on the carry-on-your-belt thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, and there's certainly companies that make, although the Note is so big that and so new that I don't see a lot of case choices out there. The one I ended up using, I had a variety of ones, one that looked kind of like a notebook, like a folio case, that I did like, and it had the advantage of it could be a stand as well when you fold it a little bit. And this is, I mean, it was like $5. I don't even know what it was on Amazon. I don't even know what the manufacturer is of that. But the one I ended up using is the official Samsung case that it's very compact because it takes over you replace the back panel with the case. So it's permanently attached to the phone. It's not a super protective case. It mostly just covers the screen. But I like it, and it doesn't add to the bulk of the phone, which is already humongous. So let's not make it any bigger than it already is.
Okay, so the one it came with was
yeah, I mean, this is an add-on. In fact, it's not. I don't remember what it costs, but you do have to order it. It doesn't come with any case at all. This case is an add-on, and all the carriers sell it. And it just what it does is you take the back off the phone and you replace it with a new back that has a cover attached. So I actually like that a lot because it doesn't, I don't want to make it any bigger. I'm not a big fan of cases. Do you drop your phone a lot?
Well, I'd say I've dropped that LG in 6 years about 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's the drawback to these smartphones are that the fronts, because they're touch, are always glass. They're tough glass. They're Gorilla Glass, but they're glass. And if you hit it, glass always has a chance to crack if it gets hit just so. So, you can get an OtterBox for the Galaxy Note. That's a lot of people like that. That has a belt holster along with it. And by the way, you could drop that. In fact, we did. We got some. Actually, we got some cases from Ballistic that are very similar to the OtterBox, and we dropped our phones off the roof, and they survived just fine. So those are tough. So if you are hard on a phone, then I do recommend OtterBoxes. Ballistic also makes good cases. But I don't want to add that much bulk to a phone that's already huge. So I love the Note. Generally I would say this is for the experienced smartphone user because it is so powerful and does so much. It could be a little bit overwhelming if you're moving from a feature phone to this. But you're a geek, right?
Well, a little bit of a geek, not a super.
Anybody who says, I hope it has dual antennas so I could both surf and talk at the same time is a geek. You can proudly take that mantle now, Tim.
Right?
You qualified. You passed the qualification round. You are officially now a geek. I certify you. And I am, by the way, in charge of certifying all geeks in the United States.
Well, Leo, I hope you have a great time at the Super Bowl with your friends, and go 49ers.
Go Niners. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. We did a show in secret for next week. So it's weird. I will be at the Super Bowl next week, but I will also be on the air next week. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. It's going to be a magical show. So Saturday, Scott Wilkinson will be here filling in. Sunday, I'll be here doing a brand new, full new show, which we recorded at a secret location for privacy sake. Don in Montana, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Don.
Good afternoon, Leo. Beautiful day in Montana.
By the way, I want to say we are geeks, not nerds. Nerds, that's another thing entirely.
All right. Two questions, one on either end of the spectrum of the time continuum of the Internet. The first one is going back to probably the third guy that received a forwarded joke on the Internet. He started getting these offset margins on the left side, and now
they come marching down, don't they? And pretty soon the original email is 1 inch wide. Yeah.
Right. How can you get rid of them? I've gone through. Some of them are on a table format. You can convert them to text.
In most email packages, I'm not sure which one you're using, but almost all email packages, you can remove quotes or even remove them one step at a time, so you can kind of march it back. You probably don't want to remove them all, but you want to march it back.
I'm getting some that maybe have 70 or 80 of these, and you can't sit there all day. Is there any kind of a macro that would?
Yeah, the other way to do it is convert it to text. So those bars and the indentations are part of a formatting that comes with rich text format. So that's because those emails are in RTF. So if you say make this a text email, all the formatting goes away.
Okay, plain text.
Plain text, and that's frankly how I prefer to send email. I don't like to send formatted email. I want to just send it plain. I'm an old-fashioned guy, you know.
Well, that solves that problem. Next problem is...
Hold on, we're going to take a break, and I'll get to your next problem when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, the tech geek. Go Niners. $70. No, it's the program. Somebody's changed the program. Because it was 71 yesterday, and I turned it down a notch. Have you heard? Postage rates are changing again. You know what that means.
Somebody's sneaking in here.
Will be even more crowded than usual. That's why I use Stamps.com.
Yeah, I like it.
Man, am I glad I use Stamps.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's magic. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. We were talking before the break. Oh, did we lose him? Yeah, we did. I guess I won't get to... I will never know what question 2 was. We'll move on to Shaman in Detroit. Hello, Shaman. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Shaman. Shaman?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Big fan. Glad I finally reached you.
Thank you. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, okay. I got a quick question. 2 quick questions. Number 1, my wife is gonna kill me because
now what'd you do, Shaman?
We upgraded our computers. We have Macs, Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro. I threw away the old 95 Windows Shell computer. You know those big old computers.
Yeah.
And it had her book that she's working on.
Oh no! Say it. Say no. Oh.
So we have the printed rough draft.
I hope you have a comfortable couch, Shaman.
We have the printed.
Good. A printout is a really good backup, for a book, because.
Yeah, but so the problem is we need to
type it in.
To the computer so we can edit it again.
I think, Shaman, you're going to be doing some typing tonight. So you have a scanner?
Yes, I have a scanner.
What you need is something called OCR, Optical Character Recognition Software. It's not perfect, but if it is a printout, it's probably going to do all right. That means usually it's pretty clear. It's the original. Lots of times, you should look and see if you got the discs the scanner came with, because lots of times scanners come with OCR software. And the reason I say that is it can be kind of expensive if you don't.
Yeah, I don't even know where that disc is.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I send people to Nuance, NUANCE.com. They bought up all of the OCR software that's out there. There are some... I think there are some free OCR programs. There's one online, free-ocr.com. It's an online scanner. So you take your scan and you upload it. But, there's a limit of 10 pages an hour. So it might be slower than typing it, but at least it's free. Doxy, now the Doxy is a scanner. You already have the scanner, right? I'm just looking at the chat room suggestion. Doxy, which is a little mobile scanner, comes with OCR software. There is open source OCR software, OCR AD. It's going to be a little harder to use, maybe not quite as good as the commercial program. I'm trying to save you a few $100s.
Ooh, gee.
Yeah. But, I think you're going to have to go to Nuance, and I think that's going to be a lot better. And it's not perfect. You're still going to have to go through it all bit by bit.
Okay.
Make sure it's okay. I'm trying to remember the name. Boy, it's a long time since I've done this. The name of I think it was OmniPage is the program that Nuance sells. OmniPage. There's professional, there's enterprise, but you're going to get the standard, which is plenty. It's $150. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sleep on the couch or $150. You can download it right now. I don't know if they have a trial. I would love it if they did, because it'd be great for you to see how it will work. There's another one that comes with a lot of scanners. It's called Abby Fine Print. And you might, let me see how much that is. That might be a little bit less. ABBYY.com. Fine Reader. And they do have a free trial, so this would be worth. You know what? I would do this. Download this. This will be roughly the same quality OCR software as the Nuance. And at least you could try it for free. You know, you probably can only do 10 pages or something, but you can at least see 15 days. 15-day free trial. Maybe you could do the whole book in 15 days. That'd be good.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully so.
Yes, with any luck. I'm sorry, Shaman. That's terrible. Do you mean there was no backup?
Nope. Yeah. That was just on the computer.
Oh man. Kyle's telling me you should do a Carbonite commercial right now. I don't want to be mean or anything.
I mean, we have backup now.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's a relief. I feel for you. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's OCR software. The best is OmniPage by Nuance, but Abby Print is not bad. ABBYY.com, and at least you can try it for free, see if it'll work for you. It really is very dependent on the quality of the printout. You know, if it's got big text, nice and clear text, that'll work a lot better, and you get 90 to 99% recognition. If it's not good text, you might get 80 or 70 or 60 or less. Chat room's telling me that OmniPage at Amazon, see, I was talking about the price from the manufacturer, is only $55. That's a much better price, Shaman. So go to Amazon.com. Let me just look. $55. It's the same one. Comes on a DVD-ROM. It's funny because the OmniPage 18 is $55. OmniPage 17, the old version, is $105. I don't understand. Oh, the old one was so much better. It's burnished with age. I don't know why you would. But yeah, this is $55. Now it's not so painful. And this really is the king of optical character recognition programs. Windows only, OmniPage 18. It is only $55 on Amazon. That's a good deal. Maybe is that an upgrade price? No, that's brand new. Somebody's discounting it. Moving on to Max in Milpitas, California. Hi, Max. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Thank you for calling, Max.
Leo, I have an issue with my Note 2. Actually, on my second Note 2. If you remember, I called you in December. My first Note 2 had a difficulty to connect to my Wi-Fi home network.
Yeah.
And as you suggested, I took it back.
Good.
And got a new one.
Yeah.
That fixed the problem.
Good.
Thanks for the recommendation. So the second Note 2 was working perfectly fine until I get this notification on the phone that said software update. And it said, you know, while the update is in progress, you cannot make a call or anything like that. I said, fine. So I said, okay, and apparently the update took place. And the next day, the Gmail stopped working. I kept getting the message, Gmail quit. I called the Verizon technical support because Gmail is one of those embedded applications, right, that comes with the phone. And Verizon guy said, oh, the installation failed. You have to reset your phone to the factory setting.
Hey.
So I said, you guys test this stuff because it's my first software update over the air.
They do test it, and you know, don't blame them. This I've done that update. Most people, the update's fine, but you know, as with any operating system update, Windows, Mac, phone, something can go wrong, and if it does, it's going to screw things up.
Right. The problem is, Leo, that there's no notification that there was installation failure, right? You don't get any.
Well, and there may not have been, although that's my response is the same as the Verizon guys. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I agree. It should let you know, but it didn't. So if you can, re-image. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I noticed somebody saying, "Oh, what about the OCR in Evernote?" That's not OCR in that sense. What it does is it tries to recognize some of the text so that you can index it, but it is not a replacement for a full OCR. You couldn't take pictures of a novel and send it to Evernote and have it OCR it. Yeah, just because you've never heard of them, Terry K, doesn't mean they don't happen. They happen all the time. Anytime you're updating an operating system, you can brick a phone. And I've heard of many iPhone brickings. Pieman, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I think Samsung acknowledged there will be an S4 announcement at Mobile World Congress next month. Announcement does not mean shipping. It sounds wonderful. It sounds like it might be a good replacement for my Note 2. It's a little smaller. It's 5 inches. But it sounds good. Oh, I'm sorry, Terry K. You're being facetious. Thank you. I have no idea who's on Twit. But when Chad gets here, I'll fill you in. Yeah, Kinko's might have a OCR service. That's a good idea. I have a Lego phone. It got bricked. It says no op 90. Office 2007 has OCR built in? I didn't know that. Oh, good. Everything was wiped except the picture she got him back. That's a nice story. Mike Elgin, good. Larry Magid, Mike Elgin. That's a good start. Wow. Good. You love the Surface RT. It's nice for you. And John C. Dvorak, that sounds good too. That's 3 good people. Elgin, Dvorak, and Magid. Oh yeah, Google Docs has OCR. I don't know how good it is. Yes, there will be a show on Easter Sunday.
This is Premier Channel 7. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, will begin at 6 minutes past the hour from Premier Radio Networks.
I think Padre will be hosting Twit next week. We're trying to figure out who's going to host it, and Padre SJ is in town, so I think we probably will have Robert do it. But I haven't talked to Chad yet. Tom can do it, but only via Skype. I think you can't. I don't think it's a good idea to have the Twit hosted via Skype.
This is Premier Channel 7. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, will begin at 6 minutes past the hour from Premier Radio Networks.
What do you use to scan those documents, W7? I hate it, Lou MM. I just hate it. It's not a customization issue. It's just god-awful. But I appreciate the try. It'd be like the Baltimore Ravens saying, "How can we convince you to love the Ravens?" It's just not going to happen.
From Premier Radio Networks.
I will ask him about the Seiki TV. Yeah, I think the host has to be live. I do. Wasn't Chad great? You're going to see a lot more of Chad on the air. I don't want to lose him as a producer, but he's just such a talent. That you will certainly see. And, I'm looking for my replacement actively. And with Tom Merritt kind of moving out of the town, it's kind of, I thought it was going to be Tom. But I think Chad is really good. And we're always, I say that somewhat facetiously, we're always grooming more talent. Hosts are very hard to come by. A good host is tough. No, he's not. I can guarantee you he's not, Reagan.
This is Premier Channel 7.
No, I'm not looking for a replacement. I am looking for more people like me.
From Premier Radio Networks.
But rat holes are what we love. That's the point of the show, is the rat holes. I love the rat holes. But I think Chad is so. I've talked about this before, but really, there's only one in this business, in my opinion. There's only one real scarcity, and that's talent. You know, there's plenty of editors in the world. There's plenty of managers in the world, but people who can host these shows and be fun and enjoyable and intelligent and informed, it's tough. And energetic and enthusiastic, you know, all of the things that make you want to watch, that's tough. And those people pretty much have to grow, because if you've got you know, if you've been doing it and you're good at it, and you've been doing it somewhere else, like Molly would say, you get very expensive very fast. You know, I try not to talk to people who have agents. That's pretty much going to price them out of my ballpark. So I think really what we have to do, and it's also because we do things a little differently than how, you know, my ethos is pretty different from standard tech broadcasters. So we pretty much grow our hosts in-house, I think. It was that way, you know, the reason I love Sarah is because we grew her in-house at Tech TV. Kevin, we grew in-house. All these people were people who, you know, we guided into molded, if you will. Tom Merritt, same thing. He grew up at Tech TV. So I think Chad is going to be. I think Shannon Morse also. We're excited about the young people.
This is Premier Channel 7.
We need some young people around here. The next generation of twits.
From Premier Radio Networks.
And I feel like we do things different. We have a different kind of outlook here, and so I want people who kind of grow up within the organization. Yes, they are, aren't they, Cheeto? I think Brian Brushwood, absolutely. Brian Brushwood. See, I can't afford Morgan Webb. There's a good example.
From Premier Radio Networks.
Jeff Kanata cannot afford. Yeah, Shannon still does Threatwire with Darren on the Revision 3 YouTube channel.
You're tuned to Premier Channel 7. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, will begin at 6 minutes past the hour. From Premier Radio Network.
Well, you know what? I've always been this way. In fact, that was, I think, even going back to Tech TV, I've always considered that a big part of my job as one of the, you know, gray hairs, one of the silverbacks, is to nurture talent, nurture the young talent. And we did that at Tech TV. Kevin Rose, Megan Maroney, Sarah Lane, Martin Sargent, all of those people. Patrick Norton, Kate Patello, none of them had done TV. I cannot afford Kevin Rose. I can't afford the gas for his Aston Martin, let alone him. Yeah, I think Father Robert is a good example of somebody who had considerable talent already, and I just really love what he's done with us. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, and it's time to talk about computers and the internet and cell phones and camcorders and MP3 players and home theater and all that jazz. That's what we do here each and every weekend at this time. A phone number, if you would like to call in and ask a question or correct me, tell me, Leo, you're wrong, is 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S., outside the U.S. Use Skype out, and you can call that number for free. We also have a great website, if I do say so myself. Very proud of that. It's techguylabs.com. Techguylabs.com. TechGuy.com. James DeRuvo writes everything I say down and puts it up there almost immediately. So the links and the products I mention are almost always there right away. And then after the fact, Josh Windish, who works out of our studio here, works on it and puts the video in there and the audio, and it lets you go and listen to what I said as an answer, and then, and this is the most important part, comment. So you can add to what I say. And I think that in the long run, that's going to make that, I hope that's going to make that website really, really valuable. TechGuyLabs.com, always free, I promise. No subscription, no charge. We maintain it as a public service. Back to the phones we go. Mike from Lake Forest, California. Hi, Mike. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Hey, I have an issue. My daughter's heading over to Europe in about a week, and I want to get her a phone where she can, she can use without using her contract phone and, get charged for roaming.
How long is she going to be there?
About 2 weeks.
Okay. And more than one country?
Oh, yeah. Spain, England, France, Germany. She's making the rounds.
So for a short trip like that, what I generally do is use my existing phone, and if it's AT&T or Verizon, you can call them and say, I want to buy an international data plan, international phone plan. It's not as cheap as you get a local plan, but it's only 2 weeks, and probably the easiest way to do that. Does she have an iPhone? What kind of phone does she have?
She's got it's a My Touch Slide. It's T-Mobile.
Well, at least the good news is that'll work in Europe because it's a GSM phone. I don't know what T-Mobile's international plan is. It was owned by Deutsche Telekom. It was a German company. So I would imagine, I guess it still is, isn't it? Yeah, it still is. So I would imagine that they have a decent international plan. Your other choice, to answer your question, is for her to buy an unlocked GSM phone. That is a phone that isn't attached to any carrier at all. Her T-Mobile phone could be unlocked. That might be one way to do that. Or get an unlocked GSM phone. And then when you get to a country, buy a SIM. The problem is she's going to be in so many countries. If she were going to England for 2 weeks, no problem. You go to England, you get a SIM card from a company like 3. It's got unlimited data. She would then have an international phone number, not her local number. But she could call you or text you that number, and you could reach her. The problem is she's going to all these different countries.
Right.
And generally speaking, to my knowledge, you can't get one SIM for Spain, France, Italy, and everything.
Oh, great.
So I think the easiest thing would be to call T-Mobile and say, my daughter's going to, going international. She's going to major nations, so they almost certainly will have data roaming plans for each of those nations. Sometimes you go to places and you can't. If you go to tmobile.com/international, they've got a link there to their international services. You can see they'll actually sell you an international phone if you want, but you can also see what it would cost. On short trips like that, I almost always just buy an international data plan. It's not as cheap as it is locally, but it's just simpler. And then her phone number is the same, so you can reach her. When my daughter went to France for a year, on the other hand, I gave her an unlocked GSM phone. I said, when you get to France, buy a SIM card, and then tell me what your number is. And she has a French number, and she'll get French data.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are the two choices. It's such a short trip, and it's so many different countries. I think trying to figure out, she's going to be in a country for 3 days. It doesn't really make sense to buy a SIM card in that country, and then a SIM card in the next country, and a SIM card in the next country.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so any idea what kind of price range you think?
Well, let me, tmobile.com/international. Let me just see. International calling and messages. International data is what we want. They have messaging. I don't know. I'd have to look deeper on this site, but it's tmobile.com/international.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I generally take an AT&T iPhone because that works internationally, and it was $250 for the massive 800 megabyte plan. That's more than she probably needs. Verizon does a little differently. They're $25 for the first 100 megabytes, $25 for the second 100 megabytes. it's hard to say how much data she uses. I think it's wonderful to have data when you're traveling because she can check tickets, she can buy tickets, she can get lost in Madrid and then fire up Google Maps and find out where she is and then enter the hotel name and find out how to walk home. These things really are great, and that's your daughter, and I know you want her to be safe, and I think it's really nice to have that.
Yeah, I thought of the exact same thing. That's why I want her to have that too.
I tell you, traveling with a smartphone changes it. It's wonderful. You know, you could find out what the nearest good restaurant is. It just is wonderful. Now, Web3555 says he did find an international SIM that worked in 10 different countries from EKIT.com. Now, I haven't used this. It looks like they sell unlocked phones, and then they have international SIMs. You're going to want to make sure that the so-called international SIM will work in the country she's going to be in.
Gotcha.
As I look at this, it looks like they have Italy, France, separate SIMs for Italy, France, UK. That's not going to be a good solution. Let's see if you can get data only. Here it is. $49 for data only, no phone, in over 145 countries. So we're going to see which countries you should check, and I don't see it on here. It makes me nervous. There's not a list of the countries, but if you could figure out what countries this works in and it's the country she's going to be in, that might be a good choice.
And that was
EKIT.com. I'm not familiar with it.
EKIT. IT.com.
EKIT, yeah.
Okay.
Great. You're good. How old's your daughter?
She's 22.
You're a good dad. That's nice.
Hey, it's my job.
I know. Yeah, you'd think. I learned this. My daughter's 20, my son's 18. I thought, yeah, by the time they're 18, it's not. No, it's still your job. It doesn't stop being your job. Unfortunately. Here's the link. A number of people are telling me about this eKit. Has anybody used it in the chat room? Because this could be good. This could be good. Here's the countries. Oh my goodness, quite a few of them. And then they tell you what the data rate is. Dollars per megabyte. And it looks like it's probably most countries. Well, next time I travel, I'll try one of these and I'll give you a review. Interesting. That's eKit. Leica, another one. LYCA, Web 6829. We'll get these all in the show notes, of course. Polished says telestial.com. Interesting. I have not tried these. And you would really want to look at all the fine print. What you don't want is for her not to do anything but just go with her smartphone and use it like she uses it at home, make phone calls, worse, get her email. Most of these smartphones are always accessing data, even if you don't explicitly tell them to. They're getting the email, they're getting text messages, they're getting all sorts of stuff, and then you come home and it's a $5,000 bill. That's what you don't want. Don't get those surprises. Figure this out before she goes. Dawn in Dana Point, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo.
Hello.
I am so excited I get to talk to you.
Thank you.
I'm not excited with Windows 8, by the way. And
you say it again. You like it or not like it?
Oh, it's driving me insane.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold for a second because we got a break, unfortunately. I will help you with Windows 8, and I think I have a good solution for your question. But stay tuned. Like a good all-around for 2 gigabytes. That sounds good. Hey, come on in. Winter weather can really impact the way we do business. I mean, the roads are closed. People calling sick. Flights get canceled. I tell my employees, I say, don't come in if you're not feeling well. I don't want to get you germs. The business, the job still has to get. Oh, that's my human rubber band. I mean, human slingshot. The fast and simple way to meet with clients and coworkers online, no matter what the weather's like. This has a Fusion Drive. Love it. So far. It's only a week old. You're instantly connected to your team. You're collaborating on documents in real time. You see each other in crystal clear HD video. It doesn't work because the Fusion technology is not in Windows 7 at this point. So they say you cannot use Boot Camp on it yet. Now, I think at some point they may solve this. I hope they do. But right now I'm using it just as a 3 terabyte Mac drive. And it's very fast. I've done the benchmarks on it, and it's almost as fast as my solid state drive in my MacBook Pro Retina. It's very fast. Isn't that great? Everything I get, right? No, this is the new one. See how thin it is? Yeah. Yeah. Light, and of course I got the Fusion drive on it. And I know I'm very happy with it so far. It's not exactly an extensive review yet, but I will do a review on it for not this week, but for next week. But the preliminary benchmarks I did were very interesting. In fact, I can run it right now. I'll show you, because it gets faster as you run the benchmark, because what it's doing is saying, oh, you want that data, I'll better move that to the solid state drive. And so that's the whole idea of this. But this is something unique to Apple's, this is to OS X Lion. It is not, there's an Intel technology that's similar. All the new Windows 8 Ultrabooks have it. But that's a tiny 20 gigabyte solid state drive. It's not, doesn't work the same way. This one is a little more, I think, a little smarter. So there's the speed test, and I'll do a 5 gigabyte. I'll do a large file, and so the write speed of 258 megabits is a little slower than in a solid state, but considerably faster than most spinning drives. And that read speed is really good. Look at that, and it goes up. So that is very fast. That's very comparable. In fact, I will open. Let me open up the benchmarks that I did on my. I have an Otherworld. Let's see, it's in my Dropbox. I have an Otherworld computer. SSD benchmarks. This is the OWC disk. So this is with very fast SSD on the MacBook Pro Retina, and then 308504, and then we're getting pretty close. Pretty close. So it's like a 3 terabyte solid state drive. I mean, it's and notice it changes as it moves that data. It says, oh, you want that 5 gig file? Let's move it up. I think this is a good technology. You can't put Windows on it, which is a little bit of a disappointment. I didn't know that before I bought it.
You still notice the difference in day-to-day usage versus just...
Yeah, this feels like a very fast computer. It's also it is slightly faster. I had last year's iMacs. I had a pretty fast iMac, but this is a 3.4 gigahertz i7. I presume it's Ivy Bridge. So it's pretty fast. It feels good. It feels good. It feels faster than the Retina, mostly because it's not pushing as many pixels, even though it's a 27-inch display. The Retina is pushing so many pixels that it sometimes can get bogged down a little bit. Although I think the Retina is awfully fast. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We were talking to Don in Dana Point, California. Thanks for your patience, Don. You have Windows 8. Did you buy a new Windows 8 machine?
Yes, I did. I got a Gateway, a laptop.
With touch or without touch?
It's touch.
All right. So that's a real Windows 8 machine. I always say that. You know, you can't judge Windows 8 on a non-touch device. It's really touch focused.
It's real touchy.
It's very touchy.
Very, very.
What don't you, just for reference, what don't you like about it?
Well, because, all right, like I couldn't get my my Chrome to open up. This is just an example. I thought, why isn't the internet connecting? So what I did is, and I like Chrome better than Explorer. So I went back into the system. I thought, is it my internet? And I saw it all hooked up. So I went into Internet Explorer, and it opened up. I thought, okay, well, then it's not my internet. It's coming through. It's just not coming through Chrome. So I would have gone through, and I first wanted to check connections, and you can't just find things.
I know. I know. I mean, I presume if you started with Windows 8, it was like the first version of Windows you ever used, it would all make sense. But nobody's in that boat. We're all coming to it from an earlier version of Windows.
And plus, I mean, it's not just that for those of us that are getting a little older. I remember working on a 385 or 40, whatever, those computers. So when they keep changing things, we're like, stop it.
I like it the way it is. I thought Windows 7 was the best version of Windows ever. I was very happy with it.
I liked it in my computer. It died. It went one.
Yeah. And, you know, we might as well get used to it because if you're going to keep using Windows, you're going to be using Windows 8 the next computer you buy. It's getting harder and harder to find Windows 7 computers.
And even that would be okay if they gave you a booklet. Because I would rather on things like this read it instead of having to open the computer and go through their pages.
Yeah, and it's not, the real issue, I think, for a lot of people is this new user interface is not particularly what I call discoverable. You can't just figure it out. Oh, you mean if I swipe in from the left edge, something happens? Nobody's going to try swiping in from the left edge. You've got to read it somewhere.
But it's not always in the left edge. Sometimes it's in the
Sometimes bottom, top, left, right. It's all over the place.
Are you? Yes. It's one of those things that I just take a breath and say, okay. But here's my question. And I bought so many Word programs, and I kept the disk. Unfortunately, I didn't always keep the serial code.
Right.
Just putting the disk in isn't letting me download any Word programs.
You want Microsoft Office.
Yeah, Office. And now I do have Gateway's Office that I have all the disks because we had a business and I purchased them. But it doesn't seem, even though this is a Gateway computer, it doesn't seem to want to accept those disks. It will accept the tutorials. But
it's probably an OEM version that you can't install on another computer, I would guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
The new Office is coming, Office 2013. You maybe heard me talk about it last hour, $100 a year. It includes online access and up to 5 PCs in your house. That's a pretty good deal.
I'm at the point I just want a processor. I just want to be able to...
there's always the free open source Office. You know about LibreOffice?
No.
Libre Office.
YBRE?
Libre. I guess it's free in Spanish. LibreOffice.org. It is a free open source Office clone that gives you all of, word processing, spreadsheet, PowerPoint-like program, even a database and so forth. It's not, I think it's not quite Microsoft Office, but it's pretty good.
And will it also do like I left the dictation part?
No.
Where you can dictate and it will accept it on.
Yeah.
Since I'm not downloading a program.
No, I like that. That's nice, isn't it? That's part of Microsoft Office. I don't think it has voice dictation. And maybe it does. Is there a LibreOffice expert in the chat room? Can you tell me if there is a voice dictation? I would guess not.
Now, well, here's the funny thing, too, and this goes into, I don't know what it saw or what it did. Our son has a laptop in the house, and I asked him, I said, did you go on this laptop and do the free trial on Word? Because I started that way.
No, it comes with it, yeah.
I registered it, and it said, no, you already have it.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it comes with it.
That's what I thought, but it said that he signed up for it, and it's now, I don't know why it's crossing the two computers, because he uses it for his college stuff.
Oh, you oughta.
But not on my computer. He said he didn't touch it on my computer.
Gee, I wonder if it's saying the IP address and says, oh, you're both in the same internet address, so you must be the same person.
So it's not even letting me get that Office.
That's frustrating.
So I have nothing.
So thank you. Web6747 is pointing out that the voice dictation is actually part of Windows 8, so you should be able to do that still.
Okay.
That's part of Windows 8.
So without having a program downloaded, this free one will accept it on my computer. I can still store all the files and all my papers.
Yeah, and it should read, open, and write the files in the Microsoft Office format. The other, of course, you can always use online offices. There are a number of good choices there. There's the famous Google Docs, which I happen to use all the time and like a lot. There's also something called Zoho Office that a lot of people like, and this is all online. Zoho, ZOHO.com. Really a nice free Office solution as well. The nice thing about Google Docs, it's not as full-featured as Microsoft Office, but most people don't use all of those features anyway. Most people, they just want to type in the text, right?
Right. There's a few things I want to do, and I'm just afraid to do anything with this.
Oh, boy,
Put things away, and it's like, okay, do it right the first time, so I'll learn it. And since I couldn't download the Word that it came with because of the IP address.
Well, that's frustrating as heck. There must be some solution around that. I have never heard of that. It must be, I guess, well, I'm guessing because the way they license it now, which is per household, that they are, in fact, looking at your internet address. I don't know for a fact. Sounds like they're looking at your internet address, and since your son's using it from the same address, they're saying, oh, you're already signed up.
Well, and that's where you say the IP address. is what it would be because our internet, I mean, our own internets, we have our own.
Oh, your son doesn't live with you?
Well, you were talking about your children.
Yeah, they never move out either, do they?
Oh, they do. I have enough of them that
some have moved out, but others have moved back.
Well, here's the one that's going to grab you. And they're all good kids, and they all work and stuff.
Of course.
But he just got out of the service. So he moved back home.
That's fine.
And
I bet you were happy to have him back.
Exactly, but I have another one in, and it's like, I've been dealing with you kids for 30 years, and you just keep coming back. And I love you dearly, but...
I want a life. Can I have my life back, please?
And now grandson's
At least my office. I just want Microsoft Office, please. Please.
I just want them to leave my stuff alone. They finally
please.
They're still interfering with my stuff.
Well, maybe if you bought Office, I don't know, Dawn. I don't know what to say. You're stuck with it. Best to make the best of it. Try the Libre Office, see if you like it. At least it didn't cost you anything. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, so that's what happens, Sophia. She has that limited, the Office trial on her new Windows 8 machine, but when she launches it, it says you're already using it. And I think it must be looking at the IP address, right? Oh, Windows 8 dictation does work in LibreOffice. That's great. Thank you, Lou. Lou happens to work for Microsoft, so he knows. Windows, OpenOffice and LibreOffice are kind of the same thing. They're just one's a fork of the other. So what's the deal? Lou, do you know? Does Microsoft Office look at the IP address? I'm not ignoring. Read the chat room, Clueless. I'm not ignoring OpenOffice. Yes, I'm ignoring it. I'm pretending it doesn't exist. Well, why would the fact that her son activated it have anything to do with her not being able to activate it? It's very confusing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, you can help Dawn with her Windows 8 machine. Adam in Putnam Valley, New York. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I am well. How are you?
Good, good. This is Adam Metro in your chat room right now.
Right on.
Yep, yep. I saw the Attack of the Shows montage. That was brilliant, just so you know.
Thank you. It was fun. I think they've pulled down the YouTube version of it. Somebody posted it illegally, unfortunately. Attack of the Show is the successor to a TV show I did for 6 years on Tech TV called The Screensavers. Tech TV was sold to Comcast, which moved it to Los Angeles, merged it with G4, and for another 8 years ran it as Attack of the Show, but G4 kind of failed. They've turned it into Esquire TV. Attack of the Show, along with all the other shows, has been canceled, and I thought it was very gracious of them. Their producers invited me and Patrick Norton, we are the hosts of the previous edition of that show, to do a dream sequence at the very end. It was the very end of the Attack of the Show last episode, where we, just like Bob Newhart, I woke up and I said, boy, I had a terrible dream. I dreamt they took Tech TV and they moved it to L.A. and they changed it. It was very funny. I'm glad you saw it.
Oh, yes. Anyway, the reason I'm calling, first I'm a long-time caller. The reason I'm calling is I thought I knew everything about my Mac, my iPhone. I've been an Apple user for a long time, and I can't figure this one.
Uh-oh, what's the matter?
Well, I'm having the same problem my wife is. Basically, when we sync our iPhone 4s to our Macs, we can get the iCal onto the iPhone 4, but whatever new information we put onto the iPhone 4 calendar, it will not go onto the iCal. And I can't figure out why. I've checked every button, check mark in iTunes.
Are you using iCloud?
I was, and I changed back to the computer because it was duplicating everything.
So it's probably something to do with the fact that you did use it and now you're not using it.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Was it working all right when you were using iCloud? I guess it was. But it was doing too much.
Right. Right. And I rebooted it, and it just, I don't know.
You know what I do? I'll tell you what I do to avoid this whole thing. I use Google.
Okay.
So both on the Macintosh and on your iPhone, you can attach to the Google Calendar. You don't even have to, you probably have a Gmail account. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to ever use it as Google Calendar. I just use it as kind of an intermediate sync tool. So I set up an address book and calendar on my Mac. I say synchronize with Google, the contacts in the address book and the calendar there. And then on my iPhone, same thing. And it's an Exchange account. So you sign up for an Exchange server that is m.google.com. Google has instructions on all of this. So you can just go to say, how do I do Google Calendar on my iPhone? And once you set that up, boy, it works automatically. I never have to connect the iPhone to the computer at all.
Okay.
It works very nicely.
Excellent. One more thing. I know you talked about this in yesterday's show, but I think I missed it. I have a lot of music in my iTunes library, and I remember reading an article saying that, God forbid, if I ever passed away, that music stays with me.
No. Ha! Get this. You don't own it. You leased it. You licensed it. Once you're dead, nobody gets it.
Well, the music on there is half stuff I bought on iTunes, half stuff I ripped. Question: there's no way of me pulling the stuff off the library, bringing it back to MP3 format?
Of course there is.
So I can have it again?
Yeah, of course there is. So and you don't even need to put it on a DVD or anything. First thing I would do, once and once only, pay for iTunes Match. Because if you still have copy-protected music that you bought on iTunes, you want to get the unprotected versions. iTunes Match will do that.
Okay.
So it's worth $25 if you have enough songs to replace all of the. In fact, it will replace some of the stuff you ripped, if it could find it, with 256 kilobit AAC unprotected music, which is all great. Now you got it. Now you can put it on a hard drive. You can do anything you want with it. It's, of course you can give it to your wife. Now, technically, it's licensed to you. And in fact, it will have your email address in it. But it's because it's unprotected, it's not going anywhere. Right? It doesn't have to call. It doesn't have to phone home. This is the problem with copy-protected music. It has to phone home and say, hey, does this person own it and all of that stuff. But fortunately for us, Apple and the music industry have done away with that. So even though technically you don't own that music, you've only licensed it for use in your lifetime. Same thing with ebooks, by the way. So, times have changed. In the old days, you'd have a record collection, you had a book collection, you could put it in your will, you could hand it down. Technically, you don't anymore. You don't own it, but of course you can. You can put it on a hard drive and give it to somebody.
Okay. Excellent.
That's what I would do.
Just make me a promise. No montages for your shows you're doing now, okay?
No more farewell. No, we're done. We're done with the farewells. I'm sticking around. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words. I'll see you in the chat room. Yeah, it's kind of... there have been some conversation about this because you just assume, well, I own this stuff, right? So I could just hand it down. And what we're learning, because, it happened to a woman in Scandinavia whose Kindle books were all deleted. Amazon decided that she didn't have a legal license to it, so they just reached their electronic hands out into her Kindle and deleted it. And she had no access to those books. She complained, and there was a big furor, and eventually Amazon reactivated them. But the point was made. You don't really own this stuff. This content you're buying electronically, downloading electronically. Look at the long 48-page license agreement. Buried somewhere within there is the statement, you have licensed this for your use, personal use only. You don't own it. And that's a little different. And I think kind of unfortunate. Of course, on the other hand, I'm going to hand all my albums down to my kids. What are they going to do with those? Here, kid, have some vinyl. What do we do with this, Dad? I'll never forget it. This was now 10 years ago. I went to I told my kid, let's go to the record store. It's a CD store at this time, and this was 10 years ago. And he said, Dad, what's a record? What are you talking about, Dad? Let's see here. Will in Anaheim. Another iTunes question. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Will.
Hi, Leo. Hi, Leo.
Welcome.
I'm glad we have to be talking about iTunes because I really hate iTunes 11.
Everybody does. You're in good company. People sometimes think because I say I hate Windows 8 that I'm a Microsoft hater. No, I hate Apple too.
Yeah. So here's my problem.
Yeah.
I have a Mac Mini, 500 gigabyte hard drive.
Yes.
For Christmas, my friends got me a 3 terabyte hard drive.
Wow, you got some good friends. That's a nice gift.
Yeah, I got great friends. Here's my problem. The iTunes is taking up half my gigabytes on my Mini. I want to take the entire iTunes world and transfer it to the hard drive.
Easy.
And take it off the Mini.
Easy. You go into iTunes. Yeah, there's a setting in the advanced settings on iTunes. You can tell it where to find its music. It doesn't have to be in your music folder, in an iTunes folder, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the easiest, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can just take the iTunes folder, pick it up, drag it over to the new terabyte hard drive, and then open iTunes. It'll say, what happened? And go to the advanced settings and say, here's where it lives. And then it'll be fine.
So go into application and pick up the entire iTunes icon. And
yeah, you do it from the Finder. Just drag in the folder. It's in your music folder, the iTunes folder, over to the 3 terabyte hard drive. And then you're going to tell iTunes, hey, this is where I hit it. and it will be fine. It can actually have its music folder anywhere you want. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think you could do that right here. Let me just see. iTunes. Well, you can see I use iTunes a lot. Epson projectors showcase amazing color brightness. I don't even have a library. With today's high-definition content. Oh, that's right. I've never used it. This is the new machine. Show-stopping quality in both. Let's see if I have any music on here. But while it's scanning, I should be able to. Maybe not. Is not enough. You want to look for both high color brightness and high white brightness to have a truly impressive image. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Last few minutes of the show. Next week, Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, will fill in for me on Saturday. On Sunday, I'll be doing a show, even though it's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm dedicated. We recorded an entire show at a secret location so that you can hear fresh content next weekend on this very show. Dan in Missoula, Montana. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling, Dan.
I'll make it really quick. I got a Galaxy S3, but it is not what you would call a true hands-free phone. I can't, I tried to call you and I pressed a little button on my earpiece and said Leo, and it pulled up my wife's name, Jeannie.
Yeah.
And
I hate that.
Look at the phone.
Yeah.
You still got to do something at the phone. And I'm used to be a BlackBerry user. I never had trouble with my BlackBerries. They were
good news. BlackBerry 10 is coming out, and I've seen some demonstrations of it. And the dictation and the voice is as excellent. It's probably better than what Google's doing or Apple. Well, but I have to agree with you, hands-free, this idea of, I say call Don and I got call my mom. It happens all the time.
Is there something I can do? Is there an app? Is there a program? Is there something I can get that makes it better?
There are other voice recognition programs available on Android. One of the nice things about Android is that it's kind of an open system, so Google doesn't restrict it as Apple does. So Nuance is one to look at, Nuance. You can try it, see if it works better for you. Noisy conditions, of course, it's going to be harder for it to recognize you, which means in the car, which is where you most often would want to use this, it's not going to do a very good job. The Nuance voice recognition is very well known. It's the one Apple uses for Siri. It's the one Ford uses for its voice recognition in the Fords. So you might try it. Okay. And then because you have Samsung, you're probably using the Samsung recognition. You might want to try the Google recognition. You can use the Google voice engine. So there's 3, to my knowledge, and I've used all 3. There's even a program called Vlingo, V-L-I-N-G-O. That's the Samsung system.
I've used that before.
Yeah, that's what Samsung's using. So you have Lingo, you have Nuance, and you have Google. And I would just try it and see which one.
Well, I tried Google one, and I use Google on my phone when I need something to speak into it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think so.
How do I get rid of the other voice thing? Because my earpiece, the phone will only recognize.
What you have to do, and you may have to get an alternate launcher to do this, is tell the launcher when I press the home button, which is the same as the earpiece button, I want you to use this voice recognition. It might be in the settings. I'm trying to remember on the S3 where that's located. You could use an alternate launcher if you can't find it in the existing settings. Nuance is also in the BlackBerry 10. That's interesting. So that's what BlackBerry's using. I've seen demos now on BlackBerry 10's voice recognition. It looked quite good. I've had good results with Google too. But you know, Siri, Google, all of these, they work better in a quiet environment. An earpiece is by its nature noisy. First of all, because the microphone's not near your mouth. Second, because it's using Bluetooth, which is a lower quality connection than talking directly into the microphone. There's a great scene in it's a Showtime show, I think, called Episodes with Matt LeBlanc, where he's driving and he's trying to call somebody, his agent, I think, and the phone thinks he says, call mom. And it dials and he goes, cancel, cancel, cancel. And his mom comes on. Hi, Mom. Just thought I'd call and say hi. And it's funny because it's happened to all of us. It's happened to all of us. What can I say? We want it to be HAL 9000. We're not there yet. We're getting better, but we're not there yet. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, Dan. You might try a better voice microphone. The best one out there is called The Boom. It's a Bluetooth headset that has a boom mic, so it's closer to your mouth. And the noise cancellation is excellent. So if you're using it in a car, it's going to give you really good results. THEBOOM.com. They use it in the military, jet fighters and so forth. But you can get a consumer version of the Boom. Not cheap, $150. But the quality's good. And part of the reason is because the microphone's next to your mouth instead of over by your ear. If you go to the Boom, you can hear some samples. So that might be one way to get it better, just to have a better microphone. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Michael in Tahunga, California. You're next.
Hey there, Leo.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, I'm glad you're there. Listen, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I have a motherboard that quit on me from a desktop that I built 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking I have to just swap out the motherboard, but I know there's more to it than that. And I wanted to just find out quickly if you had anything on your show notes that I could refer back to.
Well, I can give you in a thumbnail, in a nutshell, what the issues you're going to face. Changing out the motherboard is very much like changing the computer from the point of view of Windows.
Yes.
So Windows Genuine Advantage will, in all likelihood, say, wait a minute, this is not the computer I'm registered for. And if it does, you may have to call Microsoft. If you say to them, hey, I swapped out the motherboard, the original one died, they'll say, oh, no problem, we'll fix that. And they'll push a magic button and you won't have that problem.
Would they allow me to use the original key?
Yeah. It's the same. It is the same computer, but the way the Windows anti-piracy works, if you change too many components, it says, whoa, wait a minute.
Okay.
And I think changing the motherboard is probably sufficient because you're not just changing the motherboard, you're changing the Ethernet, you're changing the sound card, you're in some cases changing the video card. There's a whole bunch of new hardware that's going with that massive circuit board that you're putting in. And that's the other problem you're going to have, which is unless it's identical to the original motherboard, Windows won't have the drivers. So you may have to start up in safe mode, download the drivers. In fact, what I would do is I'd get the drivers before you install the motherboard, have them ready on a disk or a USB key, because you're gonna need to. You have the wrong motherboard drivers on there now. Your network might not work, for instance.
I see. Yeah. Okay. That was my next question: is gather up all the. Would the original discs be sufficient for that?
The original system disks?
Yeah.
No. What'll happen is you have to get the new drivers online.
Okay.
But you go to the motherboard manufacturer's site, and they'll have all the drivers that you need there.
Oh, I see.
So put those on a USB key.
Yeah.
and then when you reboot, boot into safe mode, and run that installer off the USB key before you try to do anything else. And with any luck, that'll replace the old out-of-date drivers with new ones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That sounds great.
Yeah. The biggest problem, the biggest pain is that Microsoft's going to say, oh, you're using a pirated copy of Windows, aren't you? So you may have to call them, in which case they just push a button and it'll be all right. We're out of time. Can't believe how fast this day went. I hope you had a good time. I did. Make sure you go to our website, techguylabs.com, for further information, links to our chat room, and more. I'll see you next week. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.